Come on, don't do me like this. It'll pop up here. Give it a second. X-Plane literally just crashed right before I launched the stream. There we go. What is up, guys? Welcome to the stream. A little bit of a technical difficulty there getting started. I know the countdown was off. Everything was off. X-Plane was ready to go. I had the flight plan in the box because I was fumbling around with this Relic 737. I figured I'd get it all plugged in before I started the stream. And then, of course, right when I go to hit live or I do my router reset, X-Plane decided to just not want to play nice. So I rebooted up. Now we are completely cold and dark. I have not touched a single switch in the airplane, so this should be fun. At least right now the internet seems to be doing good, so I am extremely excited to be with you guys today. What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. Man, I have been flying my butt off in real life. I've been flying for the last 6 days in a row. I think I did that one of those with that FCOM stream on Friday, and then I flew later that day. So I've been flying my butt off, guys. So I've got some time off now. Hopefully we'll get to have some more content. So it's just good to be with you guys here today. Slam Cannon, good to see you. Mrs. Jungles, Aaron Hastings, Clear Direct Foobar, Swappy S, what is up, man? Benny, good to see you here. Slam Cannon says, whisper sweet nothings into our ear. Hey, man, we'll get a copyright strike. Edwin Lee, what is up, man? He says 350 next. Man, you guys have been asking for that 350 pretty heavily. I might actually have to just take the plunge and check out the A350. You guys definitely want to see it. Al W, what is up, man? Is it Friday yet? It's Friday for me, man. It's definitely Friday for me. I hope you guys had a happy Easter. I hope everything went well over the weekend. Flight Simmer 77, good to see you. Doctor on board, that's always good to have on board, man. What is up, Doctor? We actually had a medical emergency a couple days ago. That's always fun to deal with that in flight. Who else we got here? Mateo Chewy, Carl Casey, Christian Ionscu with you. What is up? Willie Side, back to work. Yes, sir. Shout out to Felix and Rusty C. Rusty C just joining Commercial Pilot. Thank you, sir. Welcome to the channel. Exclamation point, welcome. As well as Felix, exclamation point, welcome for your new perks here on the channel. All right, I wanted to have everything loaded up so we could just chill and talk a little bit here, but now I got everything cold and dark, so I got to get right back into the airplane here and we'll talk some more. But I've got some exciting plans for the channel, guys, especially for my commercial members and my private members. I've got some really good ideas that I want to start pumping out, but it's probably not going to take place until I can either have Starlink or maybe a month or so from now after the baby. We do have a baby coming early next month, so May 3rd is the due date. So we will be doing more content. Ollie, no CRJ stream yet. Man, I know you guys want to see me fly the CRJ. There's just everybody's flying it right now. So I just figured, I mean, if you guys want to see CRJ, everyone else is flying it around FS 2020. Give it a shot. We are going to be on the Fly-by-Wire Mod 320 this week as well. Still sipping up here on some of my coffee. So Spirit Wings, good to see you, man. Good to see you. It's just good to get behind the desktop simulator for a little bit, man. Let's hop into the cockpit here. We're completely cold and dark again. You're going to have to watch me program some stuff. I'm sorry. I tried to have it pre-programmed, but let's try to get this Relic going here. We got the battery switch on. I do love the IXEG stuff here where you just pull up the ground services. This is one thing I'm trying to get Tolis to do, just have that mechanic push button on the overhead be the weight and balance thing for the Tolis, but they haven't done that. We'll open up we need the ground power, we need cargo doors, and we'll leave everything else like that. So let's go ahead and connect you, brighten all this up here. We'll go ahead and turn the fasten seatbelt sign on, arm you. That's an in-op switch. I don't know what it is. We'll leave it off. Position light, that can come on. Everything else looks good. Fuel pumps off. Just doing a basic overhead. One thing I do want to do is get the ADIRs in the align mode here. I love testing the leading edge devices. I guess we can go ahead and do some more tests up here. Stall warning 1 and 2, flight data recorder, that looks good. Mach overspeed, also ran into the barber pole last week. That was fun. I'll have that story on the V1 After Dark podcast. Just been a crazy week of flying, man. All right, 7 minutes on the align there. That looks good. We do need to brighten up this pit a little bit here. Let's go ahead and turn everything on. Oh, I love that flickering of the fluorescent light there. One detail, like, I mean, I can say what I want about Boeing and me not being my favorite airplane in real life, but as far as the sim is concerned, this IXEG, man, it's a relic in the sim itself, but it has some really good detail that I love, and I love flying this airplane around here in the sim. So, all right, San Jose to Seattle. We are Southwest 531. I bet you probably know what that is. Aaron Hastings, he says, V1, I took the 350 plunge a few days ago. It's very tollessy in terms of systems and flight model. All in all, pretty solid. Aaron Hastings, well, that's good to know. I might have to do it, man. I do love the 350 in real life. I'll take the 350 over a 787 any day of the week and twice on Sunday, man. Just purely from an aesthetic standpoint, I think that Boeing and Airbus somehow changed. They just changed their methods, and they Boeing screwed up. So I've always said that Boeing had a better looking nose on the airplane. Yeah, that's true until you hit the 787. I think the 787 looks like it hit a frickin' wall, and the A350 looks much more sleek. So aesthetically, from the eye, from my standpoint, I think the A350 just looks amazing. So we might take that plunge. All right, we're going to be departing off 30 right here on the Techie 3. Let me get this in real quick here. We'll go ahead and route, activate that, execute that, legs. So after Techie, a couple direct fixes here, no airways, so that makes it easy here. Techie, San Jose, next page, Birmingham, BMRNG. I know that we had a couple newcomers come in and say that, you know, they want them to stream in 1080p, and I'm sorry guys, I'm waiting on Starlink, but we will. As soon as I get Starlink, it's already pre-ordered. We'll be back in 1080p. But I'm just trying to do the best I can. Right now, I'm trying to get a nice, smooth presentation. Hopefully, it's pretty smooth for you guys right now. Let's see. Harner, RBL, then LMT, Lima Mike Tango. And after Lima Mike Tango, we're going to join the Hawk 7. Oh, baby broke out. May 3rd is your birthday, Mateo? That's awesome, man. Well, then my little girl will probably share your birthday. We'll see what happens. She's due on the 3rd. So, all right, after LMT, departure, arrivals, Seattle arrivals, I'm going to plan 1-6 center. We're coming down the Hawks 7, and it's from LMT. I should know that fix. Execute there. So that should be our legs route in there. So we'll go back to initialize, index, perf page. All right, what do we need for fuel here? We don't want to screw this up. We do have an alternate today. Alternate is required. We've got 2,500 pounds, 28 minutes down to Portland. Short alternate. Let's see, what do we have here for gate fuel is 17,451. So what we'll do, we'll come up to the overhead here, go to the ground crew. Oh man, it's already, we got 17.7 on board. I guess we don't need any fuel. That works for me. Let's randomize the load sheet. Okay. And we'll come back down here. We'll put in some information. So it's little things like this I really like about the IXEG that I think get left behind. 81 is our zero fuel weight. We'll throw that in there. Reserve. Do we have any reserve gas today? Unusable extra. None. Remaining fuel, we should have 6.2. But I tell you what, I'm going to do. I'm going to just do 5. I'm going to do 3,000 reserve. I have no idea what the 7.3 burns. That's if I had 3,000 in the Airbus, I'd be a little nervous. But we'll do that. 3,000 reserve. Cost index 7520. Those are rookie numbers. Let's bump that up to 75. Execute that. Cruise altitude today is going to be flight level 340, if I'm not mistaken. What did we have as filed at here? 340. I believe it was 34. Execute that. Cap Tom says 7.8 is ugly in the nose. I agree, man. That's the thing. Oh, the route page is usually put it on the route. Yeah, see, I probably screwed that up already. N1 limit. We're not going to do any derating today, because why not? Let's do takeoff 20K thrust. That works for me. SEL and OAT. I don't know what SEL stands for. I feel like I used to know that. OAT plus 11. But we're going to leave that like that. We're going to use flaps 15 for cinematic purposes because it looks cooler and sounds cooler. 116, 117, 126. Trim is 4.2. So we're going to arrow down here. We're going to mouse wheel you around. 4.2 right there. That looks good to me. Close enough. All right, so that is set. We're basically waiting on our alignment and a couple other things here that we want to check. And we'll probably fire up the APU. Our top altitude, no ATC online right now, so let's go ahead and dial in 340. Gnar, you got it, man. Those are rookie numbers, my friend. Cost index 20, come on. Oh boy, this is taking a little minute here. Let's go 340 all the way up to 34. 34 set, and let's do a quick little checklist pre-flight. Make sure everything's looking good. Navy Land Sub, 132 watts and only 50 likes. Let's go, guys. Let's do it. I appreciate that, Navy Land Sub. Let's go get the likes up. Shaquille Oatmeal, what is going on, man? What's going on? I hope you had a fantastic weekend, my friend. Good to see you here. Good to see you here. Always good to see familiar faces in the stream. All right, pre-flight. Pins and covers remove. Oxygen. Can we test it? I forget. Yes, we can. Pretty cool there. Now, this should be, fun fact, the same type of oxygen mask we have in the Airbus. In real life, there's a little blinker. We call it a blinker, but there's a piece of fabric or rubber that will illuminate there in this hole. It'll come up yellow or red or whatever it is, showing that you do have oxygen. But yeah, you can hear psh, psh, and then you can do the EMER test and then be a constant discharge of oxygen. So really, when you're testing the oxygen, a lot of guys don't test it properly. You do press to test here, but then you also want to test your regulator at 100% force-fed oxygen. This is actually a pretty complex oxygen mask, so it should really sound like psh, psh, psh. That's kind of what a proper oxygen test would sound like if you could test the high flow over there as well. But anyway, that's tested. Instrument transfer switch, that should be a normal. I never moved it. Window heat is, ooh, that comes on. I forget we gotta do that here in this relic of a bird. Window heats are coming on. Hydraulics are set. I always forget this one. Electrics off or electrics on, something like that. That look right? No? We'll just leave it set for now. Air conditioning and pressure. Ooh, we do got to do that, so let's come down here. Sculpture says, congrats on the new baby. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. It's going to be pretty crazy. It's going to be a crazy time there for a little bit. All right, flight altitude is going to be 340. Landing altitude in Seattle is like 60 feet, so that looks good. We're in ground mode right now, and that's an auto, so that all looks fine for right now. So oxygen is set. Where were we here? Air conditioning and pressure, flight instrument set, parking brake set, engines cut off, rudder aileron trim is 0, takeoff briefing completed, fuel pumps, passenger signs, auto brake. Basically, you do all that, and then we start the engines. So let's go ahead and fire up the APU. While we're sitting here, let's go ahead and do fuel pumps. We don't have any in the center, right? No, we do not. And let's go ahead and start you up. Both on, says Christian. So both hydraulics on, so like both electrics, or does it matter? For pushback? I believe it's temperature derate. Okay, Giblino. That's, I figured it had to be since it had that. It was right next to the temperature switch. Southwest does A's off, B's on. Okay, Sam, thanks. I'll switch that here in a second. Imagine having to set pressurization. Cap Tom, I agree, man. That's so 1990. Jeez, having to set pressurization. So for Southwest, it's A's on, or A's off, B's on. So A's on, B's off. That works for me. And APU is up and running. We'll transfer that over. We'll go ahead and close the cargo doors, close the ground, or disconnect the ground power unit. Let's get the APU bleed on. Let's turn the packs on here on the ground just so we can get some air flowing here while we're waiting. Recirc auto. And that looks good for now. Turn the galley power on. APU generator, good volts and amps. That looks good. And ooh, we are done. Let me use my handy dandy tool here. So we need to go to plan mode. 10 miles, we'll do 20 miles. Route data on. So let's look at our legs page here. Let's step through our flight plan. Basically, a right turn is the departure all the way out and then up into Seattle for the 16 center ILS. That looks good to me. So that works. Takeoff is set. We're doing flaps 15, 22% CG. Runway slope heading. Do we have to put that in? Probably. KSJC. Maybe not. I don't think it really is going to matter. Just fly like an Airbus. Can a 319 from fly from SFO to Atlanta? Yes, sir. 319 can go from LaGuardia to LA, man. 319 is a fantastic airplane. A lot of people think that because it's the shortest of the three traditional Airbuses, the 19, 20, and 21, that it doesn't go very far. But when you think about it, the Airbus has the same wing pretty much when we're just talking classic airplane. Same fuel. So the Airbus can take the same amount of fuel, but it's less heavy than a 321, so it can actually go further. And it can actually go further than a 320 as well. I don't think there's basically no slope here. We're just gonna leave that. We're not doing an intersection departure. That would be kind of like your derate or your takeoff shift in the Airbus, I imagine. But those speeds look good for me. SJC departure Techie 3. All right, Techie 3 RNAV top altitude 190. We're going all the way up. On 30 right, climb on heading 306 to 570, then direct across Milks. This is a weird one. I probably wouldn't be flying this in real life. Then cross spins and Techie at or above 3,000. So you go all the way out to the south. This is interesting. It's probably not what we would fly in real life, but that's all right. It's a Boeing. All right, so that works for me. I guess we can leave that there. I want to go back to my charts, and I wanted to just make sure we do have our gate fuel with 17.4. Our min takeoff is 16.4. So we'll keep that in mind. Everything else looks good. I'm going to put you back into plan mode, zoom you down. We'll set 250 here on the speed window. Johan, what's up, man? Welcome to the stream, dude. Jordan Lewis, yeah, you thought because it was smaller it couldn't go as far? No, man, it can actually go further. 319 is a fun, it is one of the, I think it's probably the most fun Airbus to fly out of the three of them, because, I mean, you can do so much with it, you know. But if I have to be on a long flight, I'm going to be beat up in turbulence all day, then I'm going to want to take my 321. But, yeah, just for flying around, man, you almost, I don't want to say you feel invincible in the 319, but you feel like you're in a tank. I mean, you can get her down, you can get her stopped, you can climb up high altitude, you get to 39, no problem, depending on your weight, but most of the time you get up there, no problem. Heading on departure 306 initially, a runway heading. That looks good. Okay, let's go ahead and configure everything else here. We're going to go packs off for start. Some bleeds are on. That looks good. PO heat's coming on. We'll go ahead and turn the anti-collision on. And let's drive away all and run a checklist. We'll get them out of here. Beacon on. Yep, Mateo Chu is correct. Same wing across all three models, but the 319 will have the more range. Now, when you start looking at the 321 Neo or the XLR, now you're really that's going to be a little bit different. Be a little bit wider there in the middle section, and you're going to have a different flap section. On the 321, you have a different flap layout, but just as a general term, Mateo's absolutely correct. It's the same wing across all three, so same wing. Now, they do have different thrust. You know, the 321 obviously will have more thrust. Same engine, more thrust. All right, I got our nacelle strakes in there. I do love, this is the best part of the 7.3. Look at this. This is the best engine model on FS20, on X-Plane 11 by default. This is the best default aircraft wing view that I've seen. All right, so we'll go ahead and just hide all these guys, and let's do a plan pushback, although the sounds seem to be pretty not good anymore.
Pushback failure. No suitable tug for your aircraft.
Oh, great. We're going to have to do a power back. Let's do a checklist real quick here. Before start, well, let's see. Our fuel pumps are on. Takeoff briefing completed. Passenger signs are on. V1, VR, V2, MCP, V2, heading altitude. Oh, so that should be V2. Windows, doors, anti-collision, transponder as required. So, let's do the general pushback here with this guy. Let's just go straight back. Release brakes. Here we go. Push in progress. Let's see what happens here. V Simone, what's going on, man? He says, it's so awesome to see you do the stream with the Classic 7.3. I just recently bought it. Awesome, dude. I love the Classic 7.3. I think it's one of my favorite Boeing models of the 7.3. I would go Classic, then I would go 700. The 800 is my least favorite of the Boeing's traditional 7.3 lineup. But I do like the Classic. Tom says the 737 engines are ugly with the flat bottom. Ah, man, no, I think it gives it a very unique look. No, Carta, no, it's definitely, they don't beat yours, man. No, I think they're Carta level or close. They're not even your level, but they're close to Carta level. All right, how do we stop this now? Will it stop automatically? How far are we going to push back here? But no, Carta, your engine's definitely, that's a whole new ballgame. That's the realistic engine mods, my friend. Okay, can we stop the push? Bueller? Wow. Okay. Brake set. Disconnect. Do I have to disconnect them? I've never used the default. That works for me. Alright, let's go ahead and start up engine. Let's ground 2. What'd I miss? Oh, here we go. I don't know what they've done with these sounds, but they are nowhere where they used to be. What mods am I using? I am using an old San Jose airport. I don't even remember which one it is. Default weather, and Orbix HD is California. I am very disappointed in these sounds right now. What is this? Are my settings? Preferences? I mean, do I have to change something outside? Like... That's very disappointing. Okay, well, let's go ahead and open the window. We'll start this one with the window open. There we go. That's the sound I'm looking for. There's that bleed pressure. Carta says, wait till you hear the level up sounds. I'll be waiting, Carta. There we go. This sounds better with the window open. This is what I remember. Oh, yeah. Sounds like an old arcade game. Cheap sound effects. Yeah. Shaquille, you're right, man. There's engines, and then we have Carta engines. You're absolutely correct. Carta's engines are next level. If you guys haven't checked them out already, Carta's, he's got their realistic engine mods, which is a fantastic name, the REM mod. I like that. He's got his own, there's a channel in our Discord, in the V1 Discord for Carta. It's just Carta's engine room, and anytime you need help, I mean, most of the times if you need help, it's because you did something incorrect in the procedure, because Carta's instructions are correct. But his engines are fantastic. Alright, 1 and 2, that can come on. That looks good. Yaw damper come on. Hydraulics can come on. We can go auto on the isolation valve. Packs go to auto, auto, APU bleed can come off. That dual bleed light goes out. APU can come offline. And let's do a recall. And let's do a checklist here. Before taxi, generators on. Pitot heat is on. Anti-ice as required. Packs are auto. Isolation valve auto. Start switches continuous. Recall check. Start levels idle. Flight controls check. Ground equipment removed. Flaps and APU. So we need to go flaps 15. Let's go ahead and do, that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clicks. Let's do it from outside over here on the wing view. Noah says, I would very much recommend the BSS sound pack for this plane. Noah, there's a BSS sound pack for this airplane? I almost want to just kill the stream and start over with that. I love BSS sounds. I never used to have the BSS sound pack on this airplane when it was, they did a major update, last year? And before then, the sounds were awesome. But now it absolutely needs a sound pack. I'm going to have to check it out. Thank you for that, Noah. All right, flaps are 15, one more notch. I mean, that seems excessive, but like I said, we're doing it for cinematic purposes. I love seeing the leading edge of slats here on the 7.3. That just looks awesome. Very good modeling. I got to give them that. It is very good modeling. All right, that's all good. RTO, brakes release, taxi light on. We're going to be going to 3-0 right, so 10-9 is, we are just backed off the terminal here. We're going to take, let's take Zulu. Let's just take Zulu all the way down. How's that sound? We'll do outside view, cinematic drive-by shot. Zoom it in here. Let's get out of here. I mean, I just don't know what happened to the sounds. They used to be so good. I mean, look at that. I mean, the modeling is pretty spot on, though. All right, so we got 250. Flight directors are on. We're essentially going to be making a left turn out here. Let me adjust my microphone because my yoke is going to be in the way. Alright, that should hopefully keep it out of the way there. Flight controls do work. That is always good to check. Crow says, I bought the BSS pack for the 319 and wasn't super impressed with the engine audio. Felt a little too anemic on startup. Interesting, Crow. What engines were you using? If you're using CFMs, that's your problem. You got to get the IAEs, my friend. But maybe check your audio levels. I think the BSS pack in the Airbus, it's pretty darn good. Now, I reckon he does have an updated version. I think I saw that being posted somewhere. And I'm on one of the older versions of the BSS pack, so there could be a possibility that there's been an update and it's different. Is there wing flex on this airplane? I do not know. We're going to find out. Do I use differential thrust? Ron Watkins, yes, all the time, man. All the time, in real life and in the sim here. Try to use differential thrust. Now, when I'm going down the runway or when I take the runway, I lock my thrust levers just because my hardware has a tendency not to exactly sync up, and then that can cause issues with the airplane. But I want to set my view a little bit better here. So here's my default view. I'm going to actually bring it in a little bit, and I'm going to bring that down a tad. I'm going to sit up just a bit there. I'm trying to get my view just right. There we go. I think that's the view I want to save. Yeah, the default view is over here. I don't know how you're going to manage lowrider over there. Southwest taxi today. You got it, man. What are we doing? We're doing 12 knots. We gotta bump that up. We gotta be doing minimum of 30 knots for Southwest taxi. Minimum 30 knots here. Hotshot, what is up, man? There's the audio expert himself for FS 2020. Hotshot, good to see you. He says, nice to see you in a 737. Yeah, we'll mix it up a little bit. I was very close to getting in the Airbus today, but I've been flying so much Airbus in real life, I needed a break, man. We'll be back in the Airbus this week, though. Have I been flying in real life? Yes. What are you looking at? Yes, I have. I just flew 6 days in a row, so it's kind of sad. Well, I shouldn't say sad. I mean, I'm very fortunate to be able to be still employed, especially during all of this COVID going on. But I've been enjoying what I call a COVID seniority. So what my airline and what almost every airline did throughout the course of the pandemic is offer paid time off or either just voluntary time off for all the active pilots, right? So you bid on that. It's all voluntary. You can choose to take it or not. So a lot of guys take this this time off, right? And then if you're still there, there's a Southwest taxi, basically rotate. So all this time, you know, these guys that are senior to me, they all are on leave, right? So I start getting the better schedules. I start seeing trips that I've never seen before. Like, oh, wow, there's no red eyes on that one. Oh, that's a nice one. Let me try together. I'm starting to see all these nice trips. I'm getting real used to the this very high-level seniority scheduling. But now that everybody's coming back, reality is starting to set back in, and it's not as glamorous as it once was. I am definitely not we call them the 10%ers. You know, if you're the top 10%, whether you're the top 10% on the FO side or the top 10% on the captain side, your life is pretty good. And actually, you could probably do the top third, you know, depending on how your company works bidding. The top third of the seniority list in your respective seat is always going to get pretty much whatever they want, and then it starts to trickle down from there. So, all right, let's go ahead and stop here short of the runway. Kill the taxi light. I do want to do a couple checklists here because I am unfamiliar with the Boeing. We got to make sure we do everything somewhat correct. Before takeoff, flaps are set 15, green and indicating. Trim is set, cabin call given. I just saw. Give them a ding there. So that looks good. So after takeoff, bleed air on. Packs auto, landing gear up and off, flaps up, no light, altimeter set. Ooh, we do need to set the altimeter. We are current altimeter setting here is 3009. 3009. Let's come down here. Let's change that. I went off a little bit. 3009. Set the standby. 3009. Looking good. I do need to set my radios here real quick because I am on, we should be on 22.8. Man, I can't see with the glare on there. Why am I transmitting on COM 2? According to my VATSIM, I'm transmitting on COM 2. So let me... It's not over here. VHF 1. There we go. San Jose traffic, Southwest 531. We're going to party runway 30 right out to the north, San Jose. Alright, let's do this. Brakes off. Light them up. We'll turn the wheel well lights on too. Why not? All right, we got 271 watching. Let's get a like. Let's get a like smash here before takeoff. What are we going to like this video for? If you haven't liked it already, you probably don't like it for me. So let's like it for the remembrance of Southwest Crew 531, who recently made the news for some unfortunate hot mic events. I do not condone that behavior, but I will tell you the Airbus will prevent you from hot micing, which in turn means the Airbus is greater than Boeing. All right, let's spool it up here. We got an ERJ there lining up. Look at this overshoot. Auto throttle is arm. And I've got the Toga button on my... Whoa. I don't know how to steer this Boeing here. Toga button here, so spool them up 50. And here we go, rolling coal, baby. Uh-oh. Flap config warning. Flap config warning, what is that? This is when you shouldn't take off. Real life read abort right now. Maybe it's a trim setting. 80 knots throttle hold. V1. We'll rotate. We got a takeoff config warning there. Ooh, it was definitely the trim setting. Positive rate, gear up. Never take off with a takeoff config warning. That's automatic. You should lose your license. Flyby.
Sign the traffic, Delta to go flying up, take off from it to right.
Oh, I didn't arm the spoid brakes. Aaron Hastings. That's probably it. Man, there's so much good Orbix right here. Let's go Command A. Oh. I was pressing the yoke there when that happened. That's why it went into that. LNAV, VNAV, Command A. There we go. N1, VNAV speed, LNAV. There's too much good Orbix here. Speed brakes shouldn't be armed. It was either the spoid brakes, because I don't think I armed them. I'm pretty sure I did not arm the spoid brakes. It was either that or the trim. I think the trim might have been too, because it... Yeah, 7.3 never uses spoilers arm on takeoff. Okay, so it had to be the trim, because when I rotated, it went almost vertical. I really had to push forward. San Jose traffic, Southwest 531. We're departing the area to the north out of 3.9. We're rolling coal. Last call, San Jose. Alright, we've got a VNAV constraint here. OAT. You know what, we should probably throw some anti-ice on here just because we're messing with the tops. And then we'll come back down here and we're going to go ahead and put the landing gear selector into the off position. And I also want to go... I guess it is above 10. You know what? The speed brake was armed. Maybe that's why it was going off. We're going to set us up here with a direct to berming. Let's erase that. Let's continue turning here. And let's go... Let's try it now. That's going to make a left turn. There we go. We'll clean it up. N1 VNAV speed, up we go, flyby. They were armed, jump and run. Yeah, okay, so they were armed. I don't know. See, this is where I need flight deck to sim to start yelling at me here. It looked like flaps 15 or 20 instead of 5. Yeah, but Andy, I set it for flaps 15. I thought I set it for flaps 15 though. Alfie says select roll mode before takeoff. Yeah, I don't think that would give me the horn though. It's got to be it's a takeoff config warning, so it means just that the configuration of the aircraft is incorrect. Either flaps, speed brakes, trim, parking brake. That's really got to be it. And there might be more on the Boeing, but so they were armed. Is there a way to check my takeoff if what I had set here? Let's go. Perf. No, because I already passed it, right? Yeah. I could have sworn I set 15, though, in the box. But I very well could have been wrong there. Alright, here comes 10,000 feet. Let's kill the lights. And over here, I guess we don't need a wheel well either way or that. There we go, that looks good. And this should be in flight mode. Man, we can't see the Orbic scenery today. Spoid brakes armed will give a takeoff config warning on the 7-3. Aaron Hastings, well there you go. That's exactly what it was then, because they were armed. They were armed there. I should have seen that green light. But that's exactly what it was. Because I think during pushback, I thought I saw one of the speed brakes up. So I messed with my HOTAS, and that probably armed them. And I just never caught it. So, but that has to be it, because they were definitely armed. And if they're not supposed to be armed on the takeoff roll, that will give you a takeoff config warning. What's your specs? Just entered the stream. Mark's Landing Aviation. What's going on, man? Exclamation point specs. We'll give it to you. Man, we need more Boeing streams. It's a lot of fun. Hey, man, I was going to be in the 7.2 today, but I saw Flight Deck. He actually rocked that 7.2 the other day, so I didn't want to double up on it. We'll go RTO off. That's off. Let's do our after takeoffs here to make sure we're not missing anything. So bleed air is on. Packs are auto. Landing gear up, off, no light. Or up, off. Flaps up, no light. So flaps up, no light. And let's just verify we are pressurizing. Cabin is climbing. Packs are in auto. So I'd say we're pretty good. And we no longer need the anti-ice. We're well above all that. 15.5. Man, this is now this is the Boeing I like flying right here. They still got a rock and flyby view. I think I saw your comment there. Start switches off. Not flight mode. We'll do it. Start switches off. Thanks, guys. Somebody commented on one of my streams saying that I need to do more tutorials because my streams are too casual and full of errors. I hope they don't watch this one, because this one is full of errors. All right, 7.2 climbing to 3.5. Let's go ahead and set standard. 2.9 or 9 or 2 right here is set. 2.9 or 9 or 2 right here. Southwest 531. All right, 280 on the speed. Good climb out. See, this is where I can sit back and really enjoy a Boeing, because I mean, this cockpit, especially with the eyebrows. I know pilots hate eyebrow windows. That is a beautiful cockpit, you gotta admit. I will admit that. Mark says, do I plan on getting the RTX 3070 or are you fine with the graphic card? I want to get the, what is it, 3080? 3090? But I'm just going to wait till prices go down and everything settles down and they actually become in stock. Because right now my 1070 does just fine, man. If I was streaming in 1080p, you guys would see that, but unfortunately you can't. Trying to find a good engine view we could park at for a minute here. That's pretty good. Cap Tom says, too casual. Who doesn't like having a good time and chilling? So I agree, man. After flying for 6 days in a row, the last thing I want to do is just get down and do a hardcore tutorial video. You know, I want to be able to just chill out a little bit. Gavin, question for the bus. Absolutely welcome here, man. He says, question for the bus. When do you activate approach face? Is it a certain speed or altitude? So, Gavin, this will be debated among anybody you talk to, depending on what airline they work for, what their company SOPs are. For you to understand what does activate approach face do and mean, we got to first kind of understand what the logic of the airplane is thinking here. So, when you activate and confirm the approach phase in the Airbus, you are telling the FMGCs that you and your, well, I say FMGCs, but basically your auto thrust speed schedule, which is part of the FMGC, you are telling them that you want to begin configuring and slowing for the approach. So what will happen is your speed will begin to decrease if you're in managed speed mode. Your speed will drop back. It'll drop to F speed. It won't call for your flaps, or well, you'll go flaps 1, you'll get the slats out, and then it'll drop to F speed. F speed. I got that backwards. S speed first, then F speed, and then it will keep dropping down and keep wanting you to configure, and it'll slow you all the way down to VAP. The problem with that being is if you're on an RNAV arrival and you have speed restrictions and constraints, depending on the vertical profile that is set in the McDo, if you activate and confirm and leave it at managed speed, it will ignore any remaining speed constraints on that arrival. Also, in the US specifically, coming down an RNAV arrival, I would say it is more rare to actually just get a descend via and comply with all speed constraints and altitude constraints that are published. I'd say that is more rare than them having to give you a command saying descend via except maintain 280 knots, or descend via delete the speeds until reaching this waypoint. So in the US, it is very, very common to have non-standard approach speeds on the arrival or ATC speed constraints on the arrival coming down. So with that in mind, depending on how the airplane, the Airbus, has the descent profile already planned out before top of descent even begins, you cannot change where the Airbus wants to start the deceleration process at that decel point. So if we do nothing, if we just fly down the RNAV arrival, and let's say ATC gives us a speed and we're in managed mode and we leave it in that speed, everything is fine. As we fly through that decel point, the airplane is going to start deviating from that, and we're not going to be in compliance with ATC speed constraints. So what a lot of US companies do is at 10,000 feet, we select speed, so we have manual control of the speed, and then we activate and confirm. What this does is it allows the airplane to already be set up for approach speed when we go back to managed mode, but the speed of the airplane is not going to change because we're in that selected speed right now, and we can manually comply with ATC, or if we're still on the arrival, we can set the speed constraints in there, no problem. The airplane will follow it, not a big deal. Now, the problem where this can bite you is if, let's say, you forget to activate and confirm the approach phase, and let's say you start messing around in the box and you change runways and you change stuff, and when you go to manage speed at 2,000 feet above touchdown zone, if the airplane hasn't sequenced itself in the decel point, instead of going managed speed and the speed dropping to VAP, it will actually go to 250 knots, and you're going to start accelerating at 2,000 feet above touchdown zone, and you can see where that's going to be a problem. HM, thank you so much for the $13 donation, man. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. He says, thanks for the awesome content, V1. Airbus question, if I may, with variable gust of wind, how should you input approach data on the MQ? I'm going to get to that right as I finish this topic. HM, thanks again for your support. Really appreciate your donation here on the channel. Let me just finish up that thought I had on that activate and confirm thing here. New update here. Cockpit ambient, hold on. I feel like the turbulence is a little bit too loud. I guess it's fine. We're out of it now. So that's what on that, as far as that approach speed goes, that's why we activate and confirm at 10,000 feet, because we have manual control of the speed. We can handle any speed constraint from ATC. We can handle any constraint on the arrival. And then when we go to managed mode at 2,000 feet above touchdown zone, we know that the airplane will begin slowing to VAP, and we can just configure on speed. We don't have to worry about it. Now, I know in Europe, especially, they do it a lot differently, and I think that a lot of times they just get a descend via, and they follow all the speed constraints, and everything works out in line, and that's fine. It's not a wrong way to do it. It's just how we do it here. You have to remember, when you have thousands of pilots and hundreds of airplanes, you have to come up with a way of standardizing every single technique on an Airbus, which has a lot of different techniques. There's a lot of ways to do the same thing on an Airbus. So you have to come up with ways of standardizing that, and that's what we do. At 10,000 feet, we take manual control of the speed, activate and confirm there. That way, every single time we go to manage speed at touchdown 2,000 feet, we know it's dropping back to VAP, and we're good to go. And we don't have to worry about any constraints being missed. Now, after that long-winded answer, you'll be happy to know that Airbus is actually coming out with FMS 2, Revision 2, which is a whole new ball game. It actually tells you on your PFD when to select flaps 1, when to select flaps 2. You can manipulate the decel point. You can do LPV minimum. You can do a GPS approach will have a FMS glide slope and FMS localizer in the box. I mean, it's a whole different can of worms. I don't know if anybody's going to model that, but that is coming out. So everything that I've taught the last couple of years on YouTube is probably going to go out the window in terms of real life flying, because Airbus is switching over to FMS Revision 2. All right. That was a long-winded answer. I hope it helps clear it up a little bit. HM, I want to get to your question. Again, thank you for the dono. He says, with variable and or gusting winds, how should you input that into the approach data on the McDo? So this will also be probably dependent upon your operator's company preferences, right? Or your company's SOPs, your standard operating procedures. Generally speaking, what we do is, if let's say the winds are 350 at 10, gusting 25, okay? So you have a 15 knot gust factor on top of a 10 mile an hour wind. The Airbus automatically is going to add 5 knots for you on your VAP from VLS or your VREF. We're in a Boeing, so it's VREF, and then Airbus is VLS and all that. But it's the same thing. You have your VLS and your VAP. Airbus is going to give you 5 knots on your VAP. So your VLS may be 125. Your VAP is going to be 130 by default. So you've already got 5 knot additive. But we have a 15 knot gust factor. What can we do? Well, we can add half of the gust factor to our VAP, not to exceed VLS plus 15. All right, so let me talk you through this. VLS, 125. That's hard tuned in the box depending on weight and what we put in the airplane and calculating weight and all that, so it's 125. V approach speed, it's given us 5 knots, right? It's given us 130. So we can add up to 15 knots above VLS. So if 125 is our VLS, what's 15 knots? That's 30 plus 10, that's 40. So we can go up to 140. So if we're at 130 with a 15 knot gust factor, what's half of the gust? Let's just say 7 knots. You can go up to 137, and you're compensating for the gust factor, but you have not exceeded the limitation of VLS plus 15 on your VAP speed. So that's the complex answer. Hopefully that's the one that you wanted. But the simple answer is add half of the gust factor. Don't worry about adding an additive of the steady state wind. Even if it's 350 at 20, gusting 25, you don't need to add a bunch of speed because the airplane will already take care of that with ground speed mini coming down on the approach. So all you got to worry about is that gust factor. Just add half of the gust factor to your VAP speed, and that should get you where you need to be. Sam says, I find standardization super interesting. I've watched videos of airlines and noticed some callouts aren't Airbus SOP, probably because the airline has Boeing and is trying to standardize. Yeah, that's it too, Sam. I mean, you have to think, on Flight Sim, it's easy to just be like, I can go to the least toxic place on the internet, the YouTube comment section, and I can find all the different ways all the different people want to fly the Airbus. But in reality, it doesn't matter what they think, because if you're working for an airline, you're going to fly it the way your airline expects you to fly. You're going to make the call-outs that your airline expects you to make. So the Airbus in particular is unique in that way that I mean, at least I feel it's unique, because I look at some of the other airplanes I've flown, and there's not as many ways to accomplish the same thing as there is in the Airbus. I mean, in the Airbus, there's a lot of different ways to accomplish the same goal, and they're all correct. So, I mean, I get comments all the time, at least when I was making those professional series videos about, well, actually, we have to do it this way, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's great, but that's not how they want us to fly it. And the difference, I'm going to say one thing here about this, and this is really important for anybody that's going through flight training now. Anybody who's already a professional pilot, they probably already have adapted this mentality. But for all of my student pilots out there, or my flight instructors that are aspiring to become airline pilots or corporate pilots, whatever it is, when you fly on the professional level, the difference between a professional pilot and just a private pilot is that a professional pilot will fly the airplane the way the company or your boss expects you to fly the airplane. I don't care if you can fly it this way and get things done and it's the same way. A professional pilot will fly the airplane the way their company expects them to fly the airplane. If they expect you to stage cool those engines on the Chieftain every 2 inches of manifold pressure, you better stage cool those engines every 2 inches of manifold pressure until your CHTs are below 430 or whatever it is. There's other methods of cooling, but that doesn't matter. If you're a professional, you're going to fly the book, you're going to fly the airplane by the book, and you're going to fly the way your company or your boss expects you to fly it. So That's, if you can adapt that mentality now, especially, you know, if you're coming up through the ranks and maybe you're a student pilot, right, and you're going through flight training. Well, it's either your flight school that's in charge or your instructor is going to want you to fly the airplane a certain way. Practice now in flying it the way he wants you to fly it. Because if you adapt that mentality now, it's only going to make you a better commercial pilot once you get up into that rank. All right, we're level at 340 here. Let me pull out my, we don't have a cruise checklist here. Everything else seems pretty good here. Everything is good. Let me zoom out on the map here. We'll zoom you all the way out. That looks good. I think VNAV is still broken, right? Let's do a flyby shot. That's pretty nice. So we're going to go outside here. Watch your ears. It's not super loud. We're going to zoom out here. I'll spin you around. There we go. Rolling coal at 340, baby. Love it. Let me just go up a little bit here so get the airplane in the frame. That is the juice shot right there. I gotta hand it to him. 737-300 looks more appealing in my eyes than a 320. I think that 737-300 with the winglets. Yeah, I'll give credit where credit's due. Christian says, I also saw the Airbus is also doing some sort of ground TCAS. Wait, hold on, I lost your comment. Oh, I saw that Airbus is also doing some sort of ground TCAS. Really? I'm not quite sure about that, man. That would be interesting. Sam says, kind of like how the 7.3 has IN, so RNAV approach looks like an ILS on the PFD. Exactly. So I'm not too familiar with how Boeing does it, but yeah, you're going to have an FMS glide slope and an FMS localizer, and your minimums will actually change. And I'm sure there'll be options with the revision, but there's a whole section of stuff that's come out that we got to read, and we're expecting to get the FMS2 revision here pretty soon. Say that cooling thing again, Ollie. So I'm just pulling something because I got that when I went to my first, I wouldn't say professional job, because I was flying a corporate jet beforehand, but when I first started flying cargo, so like my first company, it was a 135 operation. And my first real company where I started flying, I was flying a Piper Navajo and a Piper Chieftain, which basically it's the same thing, minor differences. But I was flying a twin piston, and the requirement in cruise after about reaching top of descent, they wanted you to stage cool the engines every 2 inches of manifold pressure per 90 seconds. I think I might have to look up the numbers, but I'm pretty sure it was 2 inches, maybe it was 2 inches every 2 minutes. It might have been that. But essentially what that does is the Chieftain has, on the Lycoming engines, they got those turbochargers. They get very hot, and then if you just bring the power back, what happens is you can get cracking on the case because of shock cooling. You don't want to shock cool the engine, especially if you pull the power back and start descending. Now you increased airflow, reduced power output, so you got a real hot turbo that's now cooling extremely fast, and it can create damage in the engine block. So we had stage cooling procedures that required you to pull the thrust back 2 inches for X amount of time and then pull it back 2 more minutes until you reached a cylinder head temp of, I think it was 430 degrees. I mean, this is years ago. I'd have to look up the numbers. I think it's 430, or your airspeed was below a certain thing, or something else. There was one other stipulation. Now, I mean, there's different methods that you can go about it with cowl flaps and all that. I mean, even just cruise power settings. I mean, they wanted us to fly at a certain cruise power setting that the airplane was much capable of cruising faster. Now, Friday power, you might add a little manifold pressure there on Friday night, but for the most part, you're going to fly the specs that they want you to fly. Sam says, I'm always shocked when I meet people at my flight school that are like, well, I don't really do blah, blah. I just do what they tell me to do, because why wouldn't I? Shaquille Emile says, V1, may I suggest an amazing giveaway for your channel, and it's $3.99. One lucky winner can get the opportunity to do a shared cockpit with a real Airbus captain. That'd be like a dream come true. Shaquille Emile, that is a fantastic idea. I am going to do that, man. Now, I want to do I wanted to do a shared cockpit this week. I'm gonna have to DM Phantom because they started a little virtual airline that I've flown some flights for and everything. I think it's pretty cool. So I wanted to do a shared cockpit with him. I got to do one test run first because I don't know how my internet will handle shared cockpit. I don't know what the extra strain is on my upload or how that's going to work. But I'm definitely going to try it because I think that would be fun. Now, once Starlink gets here, and then I definitely want to do shared cockpit, and that is a great idea, man. Like, I can just do, one a month or something like that. Just do a lucky winner. We can do a shared cockpit. I'll simulate being the check airman and just grinding the grinding the other guy in the seat. That would be a lot of fun, man. This is the 737-300 Classic from IXEG. Azure X, that's funny, man. Just picked up the Rotate MD-80? Yes, sir. Look, good airplane. Captain Big Mike says, on the Airbus 320, how do you put in a DME arc around an airport? Big Mike, you can't put an arc per se unless it's already on an approach. But what you can do is put a fix info. So go to your line select key, either 1L or 2L, go to fix info page, and then put in the airport identifier, and then it'll say radius, and you can put whatever radius you want around there, and then you can have a simulated radius around at a certain DME. Now, to actually have a flyable arc, it's got to be on a published approach in the software, in your software load, and then the airplane will draw it out for you, and it will fly it. Now, you can fly it raw data. You can pull up your VOR needles and fly an arc, but for it to actually be shown on your PFD, it's got to be either in the box on an approach or an arrival, or as just a reference arc. You can have a... Oh my goodness. Q8 Pilot. Q8 Pilot. Are you serious, my friend? Q8 Pilot coming in with a monster bomb donation, guys. $200 bomb. He says, you are not just an accomplished captain, but a great teacher. Thank you for your efforts, Captain. Guys, let's get every member in the chat here. Come on, give positive rates out to Q8 Pilot. He is a legend in the YouTube community as is. If it weren't for him, I probably never would have made it to X-Plane. I probably would never made it to streaming. Q8, that is incredibly generous. Thank you so much, my friend. And thank you for your kind words as well, man. That is just, it really is nice to hear that. I'm glad you're enjoying the content, and thank you for saying I'm a great teacher, man. I love teaching. Teaching is a passion of mine. That's just, it means a lot, especially coming from you, sir. I mean, I actually, because of I got to stop watching your reviews videos, because every time I see one, I end up buying the airplane. I mean, that's when I saw your review on that Phenom 300. I had no idea it was even out. It was kind of, I mentioned it in one of my streams. I felt like the release of the Phenom was kind of hidden or covered up by the FS 2020 news with the CRJ. And I saw you flying around like, oh, this looks like a good airplane. And then when I heard your voice say, this definitely receives the Q8 pilot approval seal or seal of approval, I literally stopped your video right there and went and purchased the airplane, started flying it, fell in love with it. And I mean, I've done that with a lot of airplanes that you do, guys. If you haven't already heard of Q8, which I'm sure you have, check him out because he has got some great information. He does fantastic reviews on different airplanes and add-ons and across all the platforms too. So huge shout out to Q8 Pilot. Thank you. I really appreciate that, man. I even forget what we were talking about. We were talking about arcs. Yeah, arcs. So there's only two ways to show the arc on the PFD. It's either in the database for an arrival or an approach, or you can just do a fix info ring around the airport. But there we go. Travis Hardman says, always a treat to catch you live, everyone. Hope all is going well. Thank you, sir. It is absolutely going well. Thank you, my friend. Q8 says, most welcome, Captain, and I've been learning a lot from you. Awesome, Q8. Thank you, man. Definitely got the positive rates. That's awesome. All right, let's see what's going on here. Let's close out San Jose. I do need to know, I think the last time I flew the airplane, the VNAV was not working. So if that's the case, we got to be on our toes here. I don't know if the VNAV is working here yet or not. We are on the Hawk 7 RNAV, and we're going to plan to land 16 center. We'll have to see what the weather is saying, but let's do 16 center. Cow. 2. No, we don't want that. Well, let's just see what the Hawks is doing. We're coming in from Lakeview. No, Klamath Falls. That's where we're coming in from. Man, look at all these published olds here. We're approaching LMT, which is Klamath Falls Battleground. So the bottom altitude for us is 7,000. So let's dial in 7,000. Tony Docks coming in with a new membership. Tony Docks, thank you so much, man, for joining the channel. Exclamation point welcome for information on your new perks here on the V1 community. Always a pleasure to have new members coming on board. Much appreciated, man. All right, there's LMT. Alright, let's come down here. (20-9) page, and then we also need the Hawks. And then we also need the ILS. Or localizer. Alright, there's the charts we need. So the bottom altitude is Key West at 7,000 feet. Actually, no, that's a lie. Bottom altitude is Vashon, 6,210 knots. So let's come on down here and see what we have. Hawks, 270, so it's in the box there. Vashon, 210 at 6,000, so it's got the restrictions in there. Starting at Battleground, which is at or above 240. LMT, Banana, Patera. So they're all in there. The restrictions are in there. We're going to find out if indeed it will do it. We'll do a flaps 30. Landing, 94.6 on the gross rate. Everything else looks good. Let's hop back out here over the wing. Oh, yes, sir. Actually, you know what? We're finally over some beautiful ortho. Oh, check out that Delta down there. Man, that Delta's rolling coal for sure, man. He's passing us. Scott says, Q8, both of you guys help simmers learn new things. Thanks so much. Yeah, Q8, man, he's been instrumental in my changeover from FSX back in the day to X-Plane. Wojtek, what up, man? Good to see you. He says, V1, you're a great teacher. I wish your internet will improve soon so we can see you more often. That's the thing. Hey, I'm telling you guys, it's killing me too. Because with my schedule being as crazy it is, and now especially with a second child on the way here coming in May, my times that I'd be able to stream are what I would call probably peak times. So it's just not very probable because I don't want the internet to be all choppy for you guys. But once that gets settled, I'll be pumping out the content, guys. Don't you worry. Benny, thank you so much, coming in with a $10 bomb super chat. Benny, thank you so much for that donation, man. He says, hi V1. Say thank you to Q8 Pilot. I'm flying the 733 Classic offered to me by Q8. You guys are awesome. Benny, that is awesome to hear, man. Excellent stuff. Yeah, the 733 is a great bird here. I do enjoy flying it. Wish the sounds were a little better. I'm gonna have to check out that BSS pack. But Benny, thanks again for your dono, man. I'm glad you're enjoying the content, and I hope we learn maybe something here on the stream about the 733. We really haven't had an opportunity to. Maybe the oxygen test. Maybe you guys learned something there about the oxygen test. But glad to have you on board, man. No. Andre, what is up? He says, whoa, I actually caught a live stream. Well, good to have you here. Good to have you here, Andre. Fubar, yeah, man. It's been busy. I've been flying a lot, but I do have... It's weird. I say I have time off, but I feel like as soon as I get home... I mean, I'll work 6 days in a row, right? And then I get home, and then... Well, I got to stream. I haven't streamed in 6 days. And then I stream, and then the next day I got to do... and then they're saying that I got to do all the house stuff around the house, and still getting final baby preparations done. But just know, guys, that even if I'm not streaming... And it's been a day or two, or maybe even like a week. I never forget about the channel. I never forget about you guys. I'm always thinking about when could I make next, what content can I do next, because I do truly enjoy this, and I'm glad that you guys are very receptive to it as well. Quang Min says, my flight control on the 320 is not maintaining the aircraft pitch. I have to keep pitching up on final even though I'm still in normal law. Is the same thing happening to you? I have not had that experience. Make sure you're not trimming the airplane. Make sure you shouldn't be doing any trim. It should all do that for you. Perhaps if it's bugged out, you may just need to reinstall it. But that's one thing I've never witnessed. Maybe it could be a weight and balance issue too, but definitely shouldn't be doing that. Ollie T says my honeycomb is arriving tomorrow. Awesome. Should I be excited after years of using the SafeTech? Ollie, absolutely. You're gonna love your honeycomb. You're gonna love the honeycomb. I'm gonna actually, no, I could probably show some curves right now. Dan Coleman says first live stream and joined right away. Dan, awesome, man. Yeah. So for those who don't know, we do have a couple of new members that have joined. You can do !welcome for more perks, but basic rundown is for all the members, all the private pilot members, and the commercial pilot members, you have access to the V1 After Dark section on the Discord. So that is, I try to be as available and productive as I can in the main Discord too. But if you have a specific question for me, or sometimes I show a little behind the scenes of what's going on in real life in the V1 After Dark Discord, you guys will be able to have access to that. That's the best way to ask me a question specifically, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can there in that section. Now for the commercial pilots, you guys also have access to asking questions that will be answered on the podcast. I do a podcast every 2 months now. I've got them spaced out every 2 months, and I'll answer your questions in video form. And also, I've got some more stuff coming for you guys. I'm just waiting for a couple of things to fall in line. So, thanks again for joining. Crow says, make sure you clamp it down. Yes, you definitely want to clamp down your side stick. Oh, look at this shot right here, man. Where is Dimitri when you need him? This is his part of the country right here. We're going to... Actually, should we do it outside or should we do cockpit view? Let's do it outside because that looks amazing. Turn down X-plane a little bit here. Now, what was I going to do? I did want to show you guys some curves. So, I believe I have curves on this airplane as well. In pitch. Okay. Not much, actually. No, so this one, not much. Now, for light aircraft, I will say this about the honeycomb yoke. So, a lot of people don't have this experience, but there are some that do have a similar experience to mine. And what it is I find that my pitch axis, while it's buttery smooth, is a bit stiff. So what I mean by that is it takes a fair amount of pressure to kind of move it in and out. But it's not sticky, it's not binding, it's literally just a little bit firmer than I would prefer. Now, I assume maybe that's, for over time, it'll stand the test of time, who knows. But what I do for light aircraft, like any piston aircraft or any light jets in the Phenom, I actually showed my curves for the Phenom, I put a substantial curve just in that pitch axis, because there's two reasons for that. Number one, when you're talking about any light aircraft, and really it applies to a Boeing, but this airplane doesn't have a problem with it either, but any Boeing or any airplane that's not fly-by-wire, you have flight control forces that are going to be felt, and they're going to be variable depending on the wind resistance or the speed of the aircraft, right? So the faster you're going, it's going to be a lot harder to move the flight control surface as opposed to when you're going slow. Now, when you get hydraulics in there, that can make a difference. But what I'm trying to get at here is, in real life, whatever flight control forces you have on your yoke, you can trim those forces away. That's why we have trim. And that's how you know that you're in trim, is by literally feeling the forces on the yoke. So in the sim, while we do have trim, we still can't trim away those forces. So what I think is the best way to accommodate that is by putting in a substantial curve in the pitch axis. Now, some people will say, okay, well, that's fine for, you know, half deflection of the yoke, but what happens when you get up there into those upper deflections, let's say, you know, 2/3 past the 2/3 mark on your total pitch travel? It's a very rapid acceleration of pitch. Here's the thing. Unless you were out doing maneuvers like stalls, spins, or intentionally using full-scale deflection, in day-to-day normal flying, you're never going to have, or you should really never have, full-scale deflection on your yoke, in the pitch axis especially. Uh-oh, what's that? Oh boy, a little weather reload there or something. Now, that could, you know, I'm sure someone will say, well, when you're landing at 152 and you're coming in on speed, a perfect landing is at stall speed and it could be full-scale deflection. Okay, I understand that. That's, you know, a unique situation when you're coming in to land, and you could still reach full-scale deflection in a light aircraft on touchdown, because yes, a perfect landing by definition is at stall speed, especially in a light aircraft. So I think it's very important that you put pitch curves on your yoke, just because you can't trim away those forces that you feel with the springs inside your hardware as opposed to the real airplane. So that's why I use curves. I know a lot of people are against curves, but I think they're essential to light aircraft and light aircraft handling in a simulator. SimDad, what's going on, man? Good to see you on board, dude. We were just getting ready to go over some beautiful terrain here. Look at this shot. This deserves a like. If you haven't liked this video already, you need to like it, because this image right here is absolutely stunning. I mean, I'm going to take a screenshot of that because that's juicy. Crow says Honeycomb needs to release an Alpha Pro with variable tension on the axis. Force feedback even better. Yeah, that would be nice. Yeah, see, if we had force feedback, that would solve the issue. That would solve all of the issues there. But I think the only force feedback that you're going to get is you're going to be paying some high dollar. I think there's some high dollar yokes out there that may have that, but a variable tension would be good, Crow. That would be a good idea. Sergio says, I was reading up on a story about 2 CRJ pilots who exceeded. Yep, I know exactly that story. I know people who knew those people. So he said their engines flamed out and they didn't have the time to windmill them. No, here's the thing, Sergio. They did have time to windmill them, but what they did is they core shocked them. So imagine being at 41,000 feet or whatever, and you flame out, you compressor stall. Those engines are going to lock up because it is extremely cold up there. So now that the engines are locked up, imagine trying to restart them. It's not going to happen. Now, they actually, I think depending on who you talk to, I think there was a report that said that I think they actually got close to restarting one, but essentially by the time that they relit or something, I'm sure Phantom has all the information on it, but I think they might have actually cored out the engines, and there was no way they would restart anyway. So it's not that they didn't have time. If you stall at 41,000 feet, you got plenty of time. The problem is what's happening to the engines inside on the components. The engines were damaged. I think someone determined that there was no way they would restart anyway. So it's sad story, but yeah, they passed away. Tragic accident, man. That's why you don't do stupid stuff. I mean, if you have a ceiling on your airplane, why are you going to exceed it? Yeah, it can get up there, but why? What good is going to come from that experiment? So that's when we go back to being professional pilot versus a private pilot, right? Private pilot, it's a different story. Either you lack of knowledge or lack of experience, but when it comes to being a professional, you have rules and guidelines that you're expected to follow. Some of those rules and guidelines are going to keep you alive, period. So it's a tragic story, man. I remember that. Did you hear about the 320 that diverted JFK with multiple hydraulic failures? Andre, I did not hear about that. I'm very interested in that. I'll have to check it out, man. Was it what airline was it? Oh, I'm sorry. You said AA, Air American. Wow, I did not hear about that, man. I'm gonna look into that one. Sam says a lot of people try to talk about the technical things about how flight sim planes should feel with sensitivity. I'd rather hear you tell us from a pilot's perspective. Thanks, Sam. Yeah, and that's the thing, man, is I understand that in the sim we have limitations. Like, we are flying $40 to $100 airplanes here with, you know, a couple $100s on hardware, depending on, you know, maybe even cheaper hardware. So it's not going, I won't say it's not going to, but it's a very high bar to set to make something feel like the airplane. Now, there's some airplanes that do this better than others. Personally, I feel the IXEG hand flies very well. And you saw that I really don't have any curves on the IXEG. So IXEG has pretty good flight modeling. I think the FCOM has good flight modeling. Now, the Airbus is a whole different animal. Because it's fly-by-wire, I think it flies just like the real thing, because you're not simulating any force on the stick anyway, right? The stick is always going to feel the same no matter your speed or no matter your flight condition. So fly-by-wire aircraft, you can imitate very well in the sim. All right, let's see where we are here. I feel like we should be starting down soon. I guess not, huh? Top of descent is, oh, there's Kingdom. No, I think we're good. All right, I just feel like we should be starting down, but I guess not. Man, what's some beautiful scenery out here, though. Look at that shot. Why does this sound like a San Fran tram in the cabin? I know, I gotta turn that down. Vass Aviation. I'll have to check out the audio on that. Do you guys know by just, do you know what systems they were, which hydraulics they were? All right, let's see here. I wanted to change something here. XP realistic profile. I wanted to change the sound here of that turbulence. It's a little bit excessive. Now, I know the 7.3 is a relic, but if you start hearing that, it's cockpit ambiance. Why can I never... Cats, clear of turbulence. Shaking's persistence. Let's turn that down. Let's do 25 and 25. 24. But I thought there was a sound. Turbulence, shakings. Sound. Let's turn that way down. Oh, 4. I wasn't terrible with the movement. I mean, you can hit some pretty rough air, but that looks good. I just love this scenery. I mean, look at this Orbix HD. Does the star end at 6,000? Yes, Siska. So this star ends at 6,000 feet at Vashon, not Siska. Vashon ends at 6,000. Radar vectors to 1-6 center. And I don't think we can pull up the ATC yet. No, we cannot. So we'll just check it out. Yeah, we were talking about that CRJ incident. 386 knot ground speed. We got a headwind. Yeah, we do, man. Big time. Oh, they lack nose wheel steering. Oh. The pilots mentioned they needed a long extended final due to a manual gear extension. Huh. Interesting. That'll be interesting to look at, Crow. I'm going to look into that and I'm going to see what happened. I'm sure, actually, you know what, I could probably... Let me see here real quick. Here, I got a little insider info. Let me see if I've got anything. Nothing yet. Nothing yet. But I'll look into it. I'm interested to see. Long final get configured. So I imagine they probably, if you get a hydraulic degradation like that, not only is the gear, because you can gravity extend the gear, they actually will fall down pretty quick. But what you have to be wary of is you're probably going to have half the speed of your trailing and leading edge devices during extension. So depending on the type of failure, you get the gear down and lock, but you know your extension to flaps is going to be very slow, and you're going to really need some time to stretch that out so you're stable. Now, I imagine they didn't land LaGuardia, right? They probably went into Kennedy or Newark. I can't imagine you'd land in LaGuardia with any sort of hydraulic issue. Manually do gear and flaps too, so there you go. Yeah, so the flaps, if they had to put the flaps out, that's what's going to slow them down. I wonder if I can pull it up without killing my... You know what? I bet I can pull it up here on my phone, not on Wi-Fi, and that way I don't ruin the stream, and then we can see what the audio is here. Bass Aviation. Well, I'm very curious now. Crow says, so question, if an aircraft suffers a malfunction, do pilots have access to MFR and NTSB reports for reference? What is MFR? I don't know that one. NTSB reports? Yeah, you can, you definitely have access to NTSB reports. Now, if there's something that's going to happen, hold on, I'm looking up. American has several hydraulic failures. Diverts to Kennedy. Okay, so they did go to Kennedy. That's good. Let me see what we got here. Let me turn down the X-plane here. Let me turn this up. You can probably hear it. American Airbus performing flight American 214 DC to LaGuardia. Short one. I'm trying to see what this plays here. Whoa. Oh, he said with you. That's probably why his hydraulics failed. They sound very calm and collected. That's good. So yeah, they're probably working an extended hydraulic procedure right now. It's an 8-minute video. So. All right, so that's pretty. Yeah, they're doing a great job. They're setting up. They want the long runways, getting towed off the runway. So they, like you said, probably a nose wheel steering issue there. They don't. Anytime you have a hydraulic issue, especially if you got a gravity extend, you probably don't want to be driving after you land. You want to just be towed in. Most silences, unrelated communications, been deleted, blah, blah, blah. There you go. I'd like to have a longer runway. That's a fantastic job right there. So I'm going to just pause it right there. I'm going to kind of skip through it, see what the other audio is. But right there, you could see, guys, that they did exactly what you're supposed to do. I mean, even ATC says, hey, can we put you on that other runway? And they're like, nah, I want the longer runway. So fantastic job. These guys are doing a good job. They're setting it out. Visual, I'm just trying to play through this here. And just other chatter. I mean, I could probably, we'll find out what really happened later on. But just from that audio there, I mean, yeah, they definitely had a hydraulic failure just because, and I mean, you could tell that they want the long runway. Awesome job. They're very calm, collected. Whenever you have a situation like that, when you start panicking, then when things start getting messed up. So they're obviously doing a fantastic job going through the checklist. Airbus is giving them their ECAMs. They got to go through the ECAMs. Now, hydraulics in particular can be interesting because the hydraulics failures can be very expanded that you're going to want to check out in your company manuals. So I imagine they get the ECAM complete, and then they got to read probably a half dozen pages or so in the book of what is failed, what's going to be slow to extend, what's not going to extend, what are you going to get on touchdown, are you going to get both reversers, you're going to get auto brakes, probably not auto brakes, you're going to have manual brakes, or you're going to have, do you have to use alternate brakes? So there's a bunch of different things that you're going to be reading that's extended in a company procedures book that's not really going to be on the ECAM. The ECAM is going to give you the immediate action items, it's going to give you your failures, it's going to show you what's not working, and then you're going to go to the book from there. So, but I mean, yeah, just from listening to the few conversations there on that ATC sound, I mean, they're doing a great job, and especially when they said, no, I want to change runways, I want the longer runway. That's a fantastic job. Even, you never ever, here's another thing here, I'm going to get to Papa Tango's huge donation, thank you, my friend. One other thing, guys, I want to tell you guys, especially young pilots, whether you're regional or private pilot, and I've even seen some senior guys have this issue, but here's another pro tip for you. Never, ever let air traffic control fly your airplane. You are in control of that airplane. You decide which runway you get to land on. You decide which approach you want to do, especially in and I'm talking emergency or abnormal situation here. Never let ATC fly your airplane. You know what's going on. Even if they suggest, like, hey, can we put you on 3-3 or whatever the other runway was, he's like, no, we need the longer runway. So that's another tip for anybody that's in aviation. I'm sure even if you're already in aviation, it doesn't hurt to hear it again, is never let ATC fly your airplane. And I got a story about that, which we'll tell here in a second. But Papa Tango coming in with a $10 bomb donation. Thank you so much, Papa Tango. He says, last night a pilot called out in a base. They had to get a pilot coming in from another aircraft to do an extra flight. How do they let you know how do they let you know there is another flight you need to man while flying? Oh, interesting. So, Papa Tango, once again, thank you so much for your donation. Interesting question. This one will be specific to an airline, but not necessarily company procedures. This is going to be more union stuff. So, depending on what your contract says, you're going to have some type, and what I mean by contract, I mean by between the pilots union, because I think there might be one or two airlines left that aren't unionized, but most airlines the pilot group is unionized, right? So you have a collective bargaining agreement between the company and the pilots. Now, there is a definition that'll probably be in any collective bargaining agreement that says something along the lines of formal point of contact or official notice or official contact, official methods of contacting a crew member. Now, depending on who you work for, official term or like an official contact method may or may not be through use of ACARS. So if it's not in your contract that they can contact you through ACARS, they have to actually call your cell phone for a reassignment, then you have to answer a phone call. They can't just message you in ACARS while flying and reschedule you. Now, some airlines, it will be through, they can use ACARS. Air traffic control, sometimes they can notify you and say, hey, you need to contact company, but that is not, at least for us, that's not an official means of communication or of contact. Now, this goes into, junior manning and having gate agents notify you of a rescheduling. I know guys that used back in the day when rescheduling was terrible, especially at the regional level, they'd change clothes in the cockpit and then run out because they don't want to be notified by the gate agent, because if you're not notified, then you technically don't miss the assignment. So that's a tricky question, Papa Tango. It would be dependent upon the agreement between the pilots and the company on what is official method of contact. So most of the time, you'll probably get a message through the ACARS that says, Captain so-and-so or FO so-and-so, please contact crew scheduling upon arrival. If that's in your agreement that's okay to do, then you're officially notified, and when you land, you got to call scheduling, and they'll be like, hey, you just thought you were going back to the hotel, you thought you were going home for the next 2 days. Unfortunately, we have a reassignment for you, and you're going to be operating this next leg. So it all depends. That's a spider web answer of a question there. There's a lot of different ways that could go, but there has to be an official form of notification. A couple new members. Thank you. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the channel, guys. The other Jason says they looked like they were holding for quite a while just before the video started. Yeah, so they're probably in the hold, which again is another good thing. If figure out the problem, aviate first, navigate, then communicate, right? So aviate, they got to fly the airplane. Now navigate, if you're going through an extensive hydraulics failure, it's probably going to require, you know, a good amount of attention from both crew members. So to avoid navigating off course or navigating past the destination where you want to be, or getting unnecessarily far from the airport that you're diverting to, the best way to go about that would be holding, because you can hold right over the top of where you need to be. You no longer need to navigate because the airplane's in a hold, so now you both can troubleshoot this problem and work through the problem, and then when it's time, now you can communicate, figure out the approach, get vectored in, and everything is complete. So holding is essential, especially when you have a compounding failure like that you really need the attention from both crew members without getting too off course or, you know, getting unnecessarily far from the airport of diversion. Reckenzy says, never let ATC fly your airplane. Kennedy Steve has entered the chat. Oh my goodness. I feel like we're going to be way high here. We're just passing Kingdom. I guess we're not. Above 240. We got top of descent on the ND, so we're looking all right. We got a 70 knot headwind, so that sucks. How are we doing on fuel? 5.9. Everything else looks good. I think we're looking good here. Might have to take a lab break here just before we start down. I don't know which view to give you guys. Steve just herds him around the field. He's exempt from rules. So let me give you an example. What I literally just went through this. Was it last week or 2 weeks ago? I don't know if you guys know it. Definitely in Texas. The winds were extremely strong for a long time. I mean, a couple days, a week. I mean, we're talking 40 knots, 44 knots, crosswind limitations being exceeded and all this stuff going on. So there was an instance where we're coming in and we were getting vectored around by an approach for, I don't know. First we held, and then we got cleared in, and we're starting to do our approach, getting set up for the approach there. We're ready to go, and we're getting vectored to join downwind. And then they say, okay, we got to vector you through the localizer. So all right, we got to vector you through the localizer again. Slow down to 170, slow down to 150. And then they came on, they're like, what's your, can you slow to 130? Or they said slow to 130, and at that point, I'm just like unable. And look at in the Airbus, I just look at green dot and be like, what's slowest practical speed? I'm like, that's all I can do, man. We can't slow anymore. Now, I could slow more if I extended flaps and got the airplane configured more, but the problem with that is that we were 30-something miles out at like 3,000 feet being vectored around. So now I have to look at the situation from a whole, right? As in a captain's perspective, your first officer is just as qualified as you are most of the time, right? I mean, you guys are trained the same. The captains get checked a little bit more, but you guys are both typed in the airplane. You both know, at least should know how to fly the airplane. So the captain's role is you really got to look at the bigger picture of what's happening around you. So I'm seeing that we are just getting vectored around here, left and right and left and right. We're going through the localizer, This was after holding, mind you. So at this point, fuel is really becoming an issue because now I'm looking like, okay, we no longer have enough fuel to go to our alternate. We still have plenty of gas here, but now we're cutting into that time. Okay, let's say we have to go around, which is very probable because we were talking with a 44 knot wind. I think this was gust up to 44 knots. So I'm looking at the whole situation here. This guy's trying to slow me down. I'm 30 miles from the airport. I'm at 3,000 feet. What benefit is that going to do for me if I extend flaps and slow down for him? Now, if I were to do that, extending flaps will allow me to fly slower. However, it's also going to cause me to burn more fuel, especially at that altitude. And especially since I know we're not just, 10-mile final. We got a long way back in. You talk about a 30-mile final with a 35-plus knot headwind, that's a long time. That's a long time to get down on the ground. So I'm not going to be flying around Dragon Flaps 3 flying 130 knots. I just wasn't going to do it. So I said, no, unable, I think it was like 150 or something was our slowest. And it's like, well, I need just something. Like, I can't do it, man. All right, so we'll take another vector. But that's a situation that can, I don't want to say a weak captain, but weak is the wrong word. someone who is not in tune with the entire situation could potentially get in trouble because you are getting in the habit of just complying, right? And I mean, you don't want to just be a sore thumb and not comply. You want to do the best that you can, but at some point, you know, slow 10 knots, slow 10 knots, turn this heading, slow 10 knots, turn this heading. So you're getting in that repetition of just of complying, but at some point you have to realize the big picture here and say, all right, this is all I can do because I have other factors I'm thinking about now. We already don't have enough fuel to go to our alternate. We've got a very strong crosswind. I'm thinking about go-around fuel. What is our go-around burn? Coming back around. If we go around, then we got to get vectored back around. How long is that vector going to take? We're down to 2-runway operation. God forbid what happens if one runway closes or somebody hits a bird or there's fog on the runway. So those are all the things you got to be thinking about outside of just what is happening in front of you there on your PFD and ND. So that's a kind of an example of where if you just let ATC fly your airplane, you could potentially get in a situation where, oh man, now I'd only have enough fuel for one approach here because we just flew 30 miles, flaps 3, flaps full, with the gear up for, 30 minutes. So that's another one of those situations. Man, trolls are out in full force today. Mrs. Jungle's got the hammer down. Appreciate it. And Captain Tom. That's one thing we don't really have tolerance for on this channel. I know if you guys come in and watch this channel, I have zero tolerance for trolling behavior or just immature behavior. And I gotta say, I'm very proud of our Discord and our community. I think we have one of the best, if I think we have the best community, just because everybody is very cordial and we all work good with each other. But just, yeah, I don't have any patience for trolls. If you want to do that, there's plenty of other channels on YouTube that you can go troll around and be an idiot on. It's just not going to happen here. Vane says, do pilots have final say on things like that? Now, when you're talking about that speed scenario, yeah, absolutely, because you're looking at your airplane. You're the PIC. You are the pilot in command. So you have to, at that point, take command of the situation and tell air traffic control, look, man, I can't do this, or no, I'm not going any slower. This is the best we can do. Then they're going to have to make accommodations for that, and then that's their job. That's where they come in, and that's where they are professionals, and they can make it work. So, it's a two-way street. It's nothing like, you're trying to intentionally be a pain in the butt, but at some point you have to be in command, and say what you need or say what you can do, and then they'll help you out even. So Rex says, is it true there are only captain-only airports? If so, what are some? Rex, there are. That is absolutely true. That will depend also, though, on your operator. So, John Wayne, for example, just because we've flown in there a couple of different times, there are some operators that's captain-only, and then I know some other operators that's not captain-only. But a captain-only airport is potentially going to be one that's either a very short runway or high terrain or a very let's say I would say a difficult approach where there's a lot going on. I would imagine Lowy. I imagine there's some operators where Lowy is probably a captain-only approach. So it would just kind of depend on the scenario, and of course it would depend on the airline. And I know that for a fact because I got friends at different airlines that say, yeah, this is captain-only airport, and I'm like, oh, that's not for us, or vice versa. So it'll just be company-specific, but in general, I think the Airbus has a recommendation. Is it landing on runways less than 5,000 feet? I believe that's a published document somewhere where landing on runways less than 5,000 feet, you have to take into account a bunch of different things, which in turn a lot of times ends up being a captain-only approach and landing, or a captain-only takeoff as well. That's also a possibility, but it just depends. All right, so TOD is finally coming up here. I feel like we've been flying forever. Jeez, where are we at here? This is legs page. We're still haven't got to battleground. Looks like the top of descent is there. I am going to step out, use the lab just for a minute. This terrain is absolutely stunning, so I'm going to park you guys right here. Have another sip of coffee. Captain Geo, what is going on, man? Good to see you here, Captain Geo. Hope all is well. Hope you had a fantastic weekend, Geo, excuse me. Hope you had a fantastic weekend over the holidays and everything went well. Good to see you. I am going to step out for maybe 30 seconds, as the lab is right over there, and I will be right back, guys. All right, we are back. Whew, much better, much better. Aviation enthusiast is hot plane. I agree, my friend. Let's turn on the terrain radar. Oh, I gotta come down here and go. Left turn. Weather radar. Nope. I thought there was a trick to this. Train on display. I'm sure one of you guys in chat will know. Alright, everything else is looking good. Let's do a quick... Yeah, we're still... Man, we are just... We're doing 7.4 Mach? We've been flying 7.4 this whole time? Goodness. Let's... Oh, come on, these are rookie numbers, man. No wonder it's taken 4 hours to go from San Jose to Seattle. We gotta be rolling coal, man. Be rolling coal, man. Let's go. Troll's out in full force today. Loey's the captain only approach for EasyJet. There you go. The old airport in Quito. Oh, I'd imagine that's probably captain only, especially for certain airplanes. You can see a great documentary clip of EasyJet landing at Loey and Low Viz. If you search for YouTube or EasyJet, it's narrated by Stephen Fry. Awesome. I'm going to check that one out. That Loey approach is something special, man. That is a special approach. Ooh, Crow coming in $15 bomb. Thank you so much, Crow, for the support, man. I really appreciate that. Thank you very, very much for your donation support on the channel. He says, which is the best looking aircraft in the skies today? And why is this? And why is it the 737? Ah, rip. But seriously, what is your pick? Put me on the spot. Best looking aircraft in the sky. Man, I tell you what. 747-8. I guess they just call it the Dash 8. I think the 7.4 is still one of the best looking airplanes ever built. No doubt that airplane's the queen of the skies, will always be the queen of the skies. And interestingly enough, you know, the 7.4, any of those old airplanes, the 727, well, there's still some operators flying the 7.2. So I'd go, in new school, best airplane is the Dash 8 7.4 or the 350. They're kind of tied. I mean, 350 for one level, 7.4 for two levels. That 350 looks awesome. Now for a classic, anytime I see a 727, I actually saw a 727 on the ramp last week for, I think it was Omni Charters. They're still operating them. 727, of course, would be my top. Probably those, man. Probably those. 787, no, man, I can't agree with the 7.8. 7.8 has some wicked wing flex, and it's cool, but the nose, I can't get past the nose, the front end of a 787. I just cannot get past it, man. Ooh, 7.5 is, oh, there's so many good ones, man. A350 Virgin Atlantic, 330 Neo, 320 with Sharklets are good. There's some good ones, man. You guys definitely have some. It's hard to say, man. It's hard to pick, really. I mean, I'll give you a little list to run down. So, I think, and, you know, the 747, if you just look at it on Google, I mean, it doesn't look that awesome, I guess, but when you see one in real life, I'm telling you, if you go walk around one on the ramp, or you see one flying, you see one on approach coming in wherever you may live, like here in Dallas, you see a 7.4 coming in on approach, if you catch it just right. It is a stunning piece of engineering to see. I think it's just a beautiful piece of engineering to see, and you know, I think you really got to see it in person. So 7.4, the A350, again, you know, I think it looks cool on the internet too, that you kind of get that sleek modern look just looking at it on pictures, but when you see it in real life, that airplane too catches your eyes. I mean, these are airplanes, I'm picking these airplanes because whenever I see one, I double take, right? So 7.4, I do a double take in real life. 350, I do a double take. 727, I do a triple take and, you know, I start drooling if I still see one. MD-11 is not, you know, I think it's cool, but I mean, I don't know what it is about the MD-11. I think it makes me sad because it looks like a modern version of the 7.2. I'd rather be rolling coal in a 727 than I would be in an MD-11. But I still like the MD-11. I think it's a cool plane. But it's not one I double take on. This one's interesting, and I may get some hate, but the 321 Neo, specifically Hawaiian. The Hawaiian A321 Neo, I see them in LA all the time. I think they are very awesome looking airplanes. Something about that livery with the flowers on the tail. You know, I don't like white liveries, but Hawaiian receives a pass. You got a solid tail. You got a lot of flower work on there. Plus, it's just got those big Neo motors on there, the sharklets. So, 321 Neo in Hawaiian, I do a double take. L1011 was definitely a beauty CIO, definitely. Let's see. That's kind of my list of double takes right there. Ugliest might be the SP. SP is a little ugly, I will say that, a little short. But it's still cool, though. DC-10 looks better than the MD. I agree, 100%. DC-10 looks better than the MD-11. 7.4-400, yes, absolutely. So I know between the 400 and the 800 on the 7.4 Mamba, I definitely think they're both amazing looking airplanes. Chris Caverly says, I followed a Frontier 321 Neo when I took a Piper Aero to Orlando on 1.8 right last week. Awesome. Most intense approach I've ever done, but best way to hit 100 hours. Chris, that's awesome, man. I was in and out of Orlando last week at 1.2. Awesome to hear it, man. Yeah, flying an Aero behind a 321 Neo, that's got to be a lot of fun. Congrats on the 100 hours, too. Sam says, I still like the 321 IE more than the look of the Neo. Really? Interesting. IAEs on the 321 look amazing, too, but I mean, I'm not going to, I don't know if I double take them anymore. I still double take the 321 Neos. Ugliest one is probably the Max. God, I saw 4 of them parked on the ramp in Phoenix, man. I think the Max it's like, they try too hard, you know? It's like the 737 Max. It's like that one girl who just tried super hard to get you to like her, and it just made it worse because everything she did made you less interested in her. That's how the Max is to me. I mean, between the chin on the nose and the wider engines and the higher engines and the higher landing gear, it just looks wrong. It just looks like they tried too hard to make that airplane be something. I think it's a pretty not good looking airplane. The Beluga, I don't think it's ugly. I think it's extremely unique and it's beautiful in its own way. But man, I'm trying to think what's a ugly bird out there. I have to think about it. DH First Officer. Ooh, you just hit 750 total time? Congrats, man. Awesome stuff, man. 7.5 will catch your attention too. Yeah, it is. You know what? The 7.5, I'll say this. The 7.5 without winglets, I do a double take on. I love this profile of the 7.5. It's got the right size landing gear for as high as it sits. I think it looks much more proportional. And without the winglets, it really sticks out to me. With the winglets, it almost looks too similar to a 321 with sharklets. I know it's not the same airplane, but it almost looks too similar. But you take the winglets off of a 7.5, then yes, I think the 7.5, 200, no winglets is definitely a juicy airplane. The 7.5 300, man, it just looks weird. I double take that airplane because I think it looks weird. The Shorts 360, Aaron, I saw one of those as well the other day. They're pretty ugly. Lockheed TriStar, how dare you? TriStar is not ugly, man. L1011, much love. Ugliest is the Dream Lifter. Yeah, the Dream Lifter is pretty gnarly looking. Controversial opinion. I love the Max. I mean, a lot of people do. Hey, I will never censor a controversial opinion on this channel, man. That's all about it. Everybody's got their preferences. I don't know what it is. I never fell for the Max. Tron, I saw your question up there, man. There's a lot of chat messages coming through. He says, quick question. I have the Tolas 319. Is it worth getting into P3D for the FS Labs alone if I have that? Here's the thing, man. It's not just the FS Labs that you got to get to make P3D look good. P3D, FS Labs is amazing, no doubt about it. But P3D as a platform is outdated, it's archaic, it's clunky, and by default it is hideous. Now, you can make P3D amazing, and especially if you watch some of Q8's videos on add-ons for P3D, or just Google around too. I'm not saying P3D can't be an amazing sim. It can be, but you're going to end up paying a lot of money for it because you got to get a lot of different sceneries, some tweak effects. Just the camera system alone, you got to buy a camera system. So really think about that, because getting the FS Labs alone is good. It's fun to fly around, but making that sim as good as X-Plane 11 is extremely hard to do when you're coming from nothing. Now, for the guys that have been flying P3D for years and your sim is tweaked out and just set perfectly, it can be a beautiful sim. It can be really nice. But if you just want to flip the switch and switch over to a new simulator, it's going to take a lot of work, my friend. PC-12, I love the PC-12 as well. PC-12 is a good looking airplane. Also, King Air. Can't forget the King Air. I'm going to go, I think the C90, like GTI, Blackhawk engines. I think a C90 is a hot rod looking airplane. Piaggio. Man, I used to see those guys. I would hear them flying over my house, and I knew, but without even looking up, that it was a Piaggio. Just the sound of it. I actually flew with a Piaggio guy the other day. Very unique airplane. Ah, there we go, Louis. I agree. I think the A380, there it is. I think the 380 is the ugliest plane flying the skies today. Now, that doesn't mean I don't think it is one hell of a piece of modern technology, and I will probably definitely be a day one purchase, and I'll fly it in the sim. But as far as looks go, I think that's got to be it. I think the 380, in my opinion, is the ugliest airplane. It is more so than the Max. Christian says, if you want to start P3D, I think you need to pull out 500 right off the bat, maybe more. That's what stops me. There you go. Yeah, it's a steep curve, man. Best looking military aircraft, F-14. Done and done. F-14 or P-51. Oh, Falcons? Yeah, dude. Well, yeah. Well, now if we're including corporate jets, see, that's why I have too many. There's too many to name. Falcon 8X. The Falcon 50 looks pretty sweet, too. It's kind of like, I would equate the Falcon 50 as kind of like the 757 counterpart in the Falcon world, because it's a skinnier cabin, still got 3 engines, tons of performance, not really efficient, but it's a badass jet, man. Now, the 7X, 8X, 9X, all awesome airplanes, but I think they almost look more proportional, but when you look at the 50, you're like, that's cool. It's like the 7.5. 7.5 compared to the 7.6. It's the same type rating, actually, but it's just one's a wide body and one's not. What was the first aircraft you flew on as a passenger? Man, that's tough. I don't... First one... Well, first one that I remember was probably a classic 7.3-200, man. It'd probably be a 200. I'm sure I flew on something. My mom actually took me from the hospital. I was less than a week old, and she took me, I forget where they were flying, But apparently the story goes that, you know, the doctor said don't fly with the baby until he's like 2 weeks old or something like that. And so they're on the airplane, and my grandmother ends up freaking out like right before takeoff, like, we can't do this, we just can't do this. And they wanted to get off the airplane. The flight attendants came over and said, you guys, you can't, it's too late now, we're already taking the runway, you have to stay seated. And I went for a little airplane ride before I was, you know, a couple days old. So even against the doctor's recommendation, maybe that's why I ended up being a pilot, who knows. I would imagine that was a 732. Best looking Healy, UH-1H Huey. Now Venom is a close second. I think the Venom is pretty cool. That twin Huey, like a modern twin, but overall classic, nostalgic UH-1 Huey. H model though. G7 is a sexy for corporate jet. It absolutely is. Latitude is gorgeous. I got a friend that flies the Latitude. It definitely is a gorgeous airplane. Lear 35, yeah, Sam. Lear, every time I see a Lear, anytime I see a Lear, I just, you know, I give the pilots an old salute, because that's one hell of an airplane, man. That is one hell of a piece of equipment to be flying around. Talk about being caught off guard. That airplane will kill you before you could say minimums if you're not paying attention. All right, let's see here. Let's go do some prep work here, because we're finally approaching our top of descent. Man, we've been up airborne for a while. 1 o'clock. We started at 11, 12, 1. 2 hours. Jeez. All right, Hawk 7R nav arrival. Speed restriction. Turbojets descend via Mach until intercepting 280. So we'll see how bad the 7.3 does that. Let's look at the approach chart here. I think we have to set some stuff up, if I'm not mistaken, right? So, well, maybe not. Do we have to come down here? And we need to set our nav radio. 110.8 is set. And since we're doing, I guess, rad out minimums in this Boeing, we're going to do 200 feet, right? Straight in ILS, 200, 630 Barrow. So 200 feet straight in. We got 200 DH refs is set. And I guess we'll back it up here with nav2 as well. 110.8 is set for both. That looks good. I could have sworn you had to dial in the course. I guess you don't, though, right? Guess you don't. Alright, everything else looks good. Let's see if she starts down on her own, or approaching our top of descent. I've got 7,000 feet set. VNAV is armed. We're at 7.9. We'll probably hit the barber pole. Let's see what this Boeing does here. Here's the turn. Let's do a flyby shot. We haven't done a flyby shot. Would bump up the audio. Why are we cruising at 34,300? Because that's barometric altitude. We're set standard, so. Uh-oh. Oh, I thought we froze. Jeez. Still love that flyby. All right, here we go. Top of descent. Let's see what happens here. We'll go auto brakes 2. And let's do a checklist. Pressurization, check. Recall, check. Auto brakes are set to. VREF, check. Approach briefing complete. Altimeters, we'll set them when we get down there. All right, here's the TODs. Start down for me. The course is in front of you. The course is in front of me. Retard. FMC. Drag required. So we're immediately high. Alright. We're immediately high. We'll get some drag out. What's up with the, oh, burning coal now out the wrong side of the engine. That doesn't look good. Now we're coming back on it. Yeah, course on either side of the MCP. Oh my gosh, thanks. I knew it was on there somewhere. Course 164. Let's set 164 over here. Alright, we should be set up. We're actually on the VNAV path. Everything is looking good. We can zoom her out a little bit. Down we go. Never did turn the seatbelt sign off in cruise. I apologize. Everybody sit back there. Pressurization is coming down. We're looking good. Things are looking up. I don't know what's going on there with the engine effect, but here we go. Excellent VNAV computation, I see. Yeah. .111 and set the course. Oh my gosh, what did I set? 110.8? You saved me there, Christian. Appreciate it, man. I don't know where I got 110.8. I guess I was looking at the ATIS. 111.7. Kids in the cockpit. Uh-oh. 111.7 is set. Now we're cooking with gas. 27.8 on the descent, FMC speed, so that's good. Alright, here we go. Starting down. Be a friend, tell a friend. Gonna need to shoot the NDB in the old relic? Man, I do not know if I have the abilities to do an NDB approach in this airplane. I would need flight deck to sim to be sitting next to me for that. I've heard some pilots refer to speed brakes as last resort, and they're best not to touch them while descending. Is this an ego thing or a company SOP? Ego thing, Andre. Definitely an ego thing. But it's also fun to kind of mess with the guy next to you. Like if he's a new guy and doesn't really understand the airplane, especially in the Airbus, you will live and die by your FMA. So there are times where it's possible to get below a calculated path and a geometric path, and it's hard for me to just talk through this. In the next Airbus stream, maybe I'll try to explain a little bit more. But what I'm getting at is there are times in the Airbus that if you're not 100% in tune or have the knowledge of what's actually happening, what the airplane is trying to accomplish, the airplane will tell you that you're high and you will reach for that speed brake handle, when in reality you are nowhere near high and you don't need the speed brakes at all. It is that point when I'm like, speed brake, you know, or I'll show the guy, be like, hey man, look, we got to reset our top of descent here. Just flip the flaps around. If you reset, there's a couple ways to reset the top of descent calculation in the bus. And if they don't know it, I'll be like, hey, yeah, just do this. And now look, you're not high, you're actually low. So there's no reason to be using the speed brakes if you're low on profile, even though the Airbus thinks you're high. So it's kind of one of those things where, you know, but if you're going to LA, Atlanta, Dallas, you're going to need spoid brakes, period. It's a given. But yeah, there are guys that it could be an ego thing. That's vanilla X-plane contrails there, Crow. Those are vanilla. No add-on contrails. I know our descent is kind of struggling here. FMC speed. Seattle. All kinds of traffic down there. Details 3028 light and variable, 2300 Boken. What do we say meter was? 3028. So I'm going to set that here on the standby just so I have that. Oh well, I guess screwed that up. 2992 set. I'm going to set the standby 3028 so I can remember. Sam says, FS Labs is the same thing. It drives me nuts. Just reach for the speed brakes in 10 seconds low. Yep. That's one of those things, man. You just got to know. It comes with some experience, but if you got to really understand what the airplane is trying to calculate, and especially if you start changing things, like if you go direct to different fix, or maybe you get an ATC restriction, that's not what the Airbus has planned for you on the geometric path, where you'll get in that situation where it's asking you for speed brakes when you don't need them, and you just gotta be in the know. That's all. But you'll figure it out, man. You keep working with it, you'll definitely figure it out. The best thing to do in the Airbus is just use your 3-to-1 rule. Take the altitude that you're at, subtract it from the altitude that you want to be at, multiply it by 3, that's your distance, and then cross-reference that with the distance that your aircraft actually is. That's just a good way to know. I always do that 3-to-1 rule when I'm coming down, just double checking the airplane. Why hasn't Airbus done anything about it? They have, Time Mob. FMS2 is coming out. It's going to change everything that I know and you know and everybody knows about the Airbus. Big time change with FMS2. You got to remember, Airbus is, like, we're talking 80s, man. Like, it's old technology. It is, we think it's modern, we say it's modern, and it is modern, but compared to the Boeing side of things, but it's definitely older technology. More drag required, huh? I don't think so. Let's see. Picket or pikes. Let's look at the star here. Pikes between 15 and 12 at 250. Let's set the altimeter. Oh yeah, that's going to screw us there. 3028. Got a little high there on the descent. I feel like it's 22.8 is the seat taft for Vetson, right? I just feel like it's awfully quiet today. Alfie says flight deck says they're just another tool, so use them. There you go. Yeah. So in the Airbus, in the Boeing, I really don't know if there's any stigma to it, but I'm just speaking from the Airbus terms, you know. There's Boeing Field right down there. Man, this sim can definitely be beautiful, I'll tell you what. Alright, Breathe 250, 11 and 10. So, I'm at 5,000 feet. I gotta go 5,000 feet down to 10. That's 15 miles. Breathe is... I don't know what range rings I'm at here. 5, 10. Breathe is less than 10 miles away, so we are high. Oh, look, she's not doing anything about it. So the VNAV in this airplane is... I don't know if it's true to real life, but it's not very good. And now it's speeding up on me. You know what we're going to do? We're just going to go level change. 250, 7,000. We'll just do level change down to 7. We might miss nets, but that's alright. There's no ATC on. Alright, let's look at our pressurization has been checked. Recall auto brake is set to VREF. We want to check that. And approach briefing is complete. Initialization, ref, what do we got here? VREF, 30 flaps, 30 speed 124 is ref. How often do you control throttles when landing in the Airbus? Man, every time I decide to turn them off. So, again, that could be a company thing, may not allow it, but I try to, you know, anytime the winds are above 15 knots, I'll probably take command of the auto thrust, just because I feel like I can do a better job. Urfan, what's up, man? He says, good evening, Captain. Your videos inspired me to buy the Tolis, a baby bus. A short question related to the 319. In case of a tailwind, can we reduce VAP speed? No, you do not want to reduce VAP speed. That's extremely dangerous because you got to think of your true airspeed in that case. So landing with the tailwind, you got a 10 knot limitation, and you do not want to reduce your VAP speed. That's the wrong thing to do about. What you want to do there is switch runways. You don't want to slow down. Quartering tailwind is the worst possible scenario for a wind on approach and landing, so you got to be very careful of that quartering tailwind, especially at a 321. Tail strike definitely comes into play. If it's gusting, which you shouldn't be landing with a quartering tailwind, especially in gusty conditions, but you can definitely get pretty close with tail strike. They're trying to arrest that descent rate with a tailwind. Will FMS2 use the same McDo? Yes. All it is a software update. Does Boeing still produce spare parts for the Classic? Ooh, I do not know. Do not know. I mean, I'm sure they're still flying, but I don't know many 300s that are out in the U.S. anyway. I know they're getting harder to find. Level change, higher speed, 270 with a little bit of spoid brakes. Yeah, that's a great way to get down, man. Especially even in the Airbus too. Like if I'm at 250 and I'm trying to get down, let's say I'm in a 320 coming in Dallas, aka yesterday this happened to me. 320 coming in, tailwind, 250 knot restriction because I'm below 10,000 feet, and I have the speed brakes full out. But because I have the autopilot on, I'm only getting half-scale deflection. This is when that Airbus 320 gets a little slick on you. Just go ahead and increase that speed like 5 knots, like 255. It gets that nose over, and it really starts to come down. Then you can back it off, and plus or minus 5 knots, no one's going to bite at you. But that's a great technique. Now, if you're above 10,000, definitely, man. Yeah, if you roll that speed up, boom. Now, emergency descent, which we'll probably have to do a video on that. Emergency descent on the Airbus, just bury that speed knob, man. Bury it all the way up there into the red line. All right, so for landing, do we go flight or continuous? All right, 9.8, we're slowing down. Now, there is a speed, we should have been at 210, so let's go ahead and dial that back right now. Oh, man, this thing goes the other way. Oh, no. 210 knots here. A little bit of spoid brake. We're down a level change, 7,000. Trying to slow down and go down. If we got to take an extended vector, we'll take it. Oh, that's a cool shot, though, the bridge in the background. Do you think the FMS2 features are in place? Yes, they are. 380, 350, and I think that's it right now. Maybe the 340? I don't know. But yeah, the 380 has it, and the 350 already has FMS2, Sam. Yeah, yeah, 380 and 350. Continuous, thank you. Continuous, but usually selected at landing checklist. Ooh, all right. Ahmed says, thank you. Glad I asked because I recorded a video of me doing exactly the same thing, so now I won't publish it now. Ahmed, yeah, it's when you have a tailwind, you got to think, okay, so if you slow down, you're actually going to have less wind over the leading edge of your lift devices, right? So if you have less wind, you're potentially going to get in a situation where you're going to either have a rapid descent rate there or you're going to stall faster than you think you may because of that tailwind. Definitely can get slick. Airplanes fly going forward, not backwards. If anything, bumping your approach speed up would help you in terms of protection with a tailwind, but that's going to extremely increase your landing roll. So, again, that's why there's that 10 knot limitation on there for landing. 330 Neo, I'm not sure, Freckles. Yeah, the 320 is one of the last to catch up. All right, 210, 7,000. Look, we made that. We're going to continue to walk it back here because we're pretty much on a vector. I'm going to kind of fly this like an Airbus. We're going to dial it back to 180 here on downwind. We'll go ahead and arm the spoid brake. And what is our... So after that, vector off here, approach. Anvil is at like 32. Let's go 4,000. Let's select 4,000, level change. And get on down. 180 on the speed, 4,000. Retard MCP speed. See, so the Boeing even calls you a retard. Now, I know the Boeing also has flaps you can do. Let's see. What is the... Below 230, below 225, flaps 5. Let's do that. Let's go flaps 5. Can the retractable landing lights be oversped? Not on the 320 family, no. They recommend 250, keep them in. If you forget to retract them above 250, at about 300 knots, you'll know that they're still out because your seat will be vibrating and yeah, you'll know. Gear lights, so they're coming on red when the thrust comes back to idle. Right? That's what my assumption is here. Gear unsafe light. Alright, we're flaps 5. Slowing to 180. I'm going to get ready to vector myself here. Southwest 531, fly heading 360. 360, Southwest 531. What are my speeds? 210, flaps 10, flaps 15 below 195. Man, you can do. There's so many flap settings in this airplane. We'll tweak her back another 10 knots. And we'll go flaps 15. Love that classic wing though, with the flaps. This is my favorite shot right here. Preferably without the winglets, but Southwest had the winglets on there. But this wing just looks so fat. I love the dirt streaks here off the vortex generators. Love it. Yep, 350 fancy descent planning, Sam. Yeah, it's pretty incredible when you actually look at what's coming. I mean, it'll tell you this is when you should do flaps 1, this is when you do flaps 2, flaps 3, this is your stable point. Like, it's pretty incredible stuff. Now, that's a cool shot there. Seattle in the background. Whew. Airbus is going to add auto RA. I'm not sure if that's part of the FMS2, man. I'm not sure. Like I said, I just started reading up on it. I got stuff I got to read and go over as well. But put a drop of oil on that trim wheel. That's the gear warning horn. I know there's a way to silence it. I know there's a way to silence you. That's why you don't do flaps 15, huh?
Delta 3194, heavy taxi Bravo 16 left down traffic.
Hold on. All right, here we go. Let's go ahead and make the turn over here. Seattle traffic, Southwest 531. We're 4,000 feet, about 15 miles to the north of the field. We're setting up for a straight in 16 center, Seattle.
Seattle traffic, Delta to Golf, final 16 right.
All right, glide slope Loke is armed. Yeah, flap setting 1, 5, 15, and 30 or 40. Okay. In front of the FO. Oh, over here? Oh, yeah. What a terrible design. Help that localizer capture. Vector to Anvil. Anvil's at 3,200. We should capture the Loke here. We might be inside of it a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and level change us down here at 160 knots. Oh, why is nose wheel steering on? This ought to be interesting. Bueller? No. Alright, we'll go ahead and turn you all off. I'm sure I screwed something there. I guess we'll just fly it, huh? Alright, we'll hand fly it. Auto thrust disengage. What is going on here with my flight directors? Altitude?
Seattle traffic, Delta 3194 heavy, 16 left taking off to the southwest for southwest departure. Seattle traffic, any inbound traffic, please report.
Seattle traffic, Southwest 531. We're just outside of Annville and about a 10-mile final for 16 Center, Seattle. Our localizer's alive now. Here comes the glide slope. Dropped the gear a little too early there. FMS is not... Oh, that's probably what it is. You are loc. Well, now it captured. I'm just flying the old school needles there. There's glide slope. Ah, I gotta sequence the box in the old Boeing, huh? No worries. All right, we'll stabilize here. We got her. We're flying down. Flaps 25. We'll go flaps 30 here momentarily. I'm 25 was app. VAP speed. Landing checklist. Chem call done. Start switches. Continuous speed brakes are armed. Down 3 green and flaps full. Down 3 green. Speed brakes are armed. We're on the slope. We're on the loc. Things are looking good. Let's go ahead and start slowing up now. We'll go bring that power back. Flaps 30. Landing checklist complete. I wonder if I bumped my yoke. Maybe that would have put it into CWS mode. That could have done it. So 125 seems awful slow, but 16 Center is in sight. We're landing. That's a cool shot. I guess I shouldn't be flying outside right now. Seattle traffic, Southwest 531, 5-mile final, 16 Center, Seattle. One thing I'll say about this IXEG is I do think that we talked about that trimming the pressures off the yoke. Their flight model is pretty darn good. Like, you can tell when you're in trim, when you're not in trim. And that's with basically no curves. Seems to be a little bit happier there at 130. Oh, that's interesting. Flashing localizer and glide slope. If you're doing an ILS or a Cat 3, that'd be a go around. All right, let's not smash.
1,000.
Stable. Clear land.
Radio check.
Loud and clear.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to keep her at about 131. Once we get down here, I'm going to back my view out a little bit.
3194 is clear the pattern area, Seattle for Delta 3194.
400. 300.
2 whites, 2 reds. We're looking good. We're landing.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
Spoilers. A little bit of a float there. That one said 129. That one said 181. Southwest would probably be more along the lines of 181. 2 feet from center line, 59 feet above threshold. Manual brakes. I'm going to go with the 129 on that one. We'll see what Fly Live says. But that 181, how do we do? A little high over the threshold. That's all right. 2 feet from center line. Hey, man, I'll take it. Let's clear the runway here. We'll hold short. We'll clean it up. And then we'll make sure no one else is taking off. Yep, we'll do a replay, man. Don't worry. All right, let's go ahead and clean her up here. And we got anybody coming? Nope.
Traffic, Delta to the Gulf, cross runway 16 cent.
Seattle traffic, Southwest 531, crossing 16 left into the ramp. Last call, Seattle. All right, we're going to cross 16 left.
Stand by final runway 16.
What did you say about 16 left? I don't see anybody coming on 16 left. Christian says Alpaca would hire me. That's good, man. I need to know if Alpaca would hire me as an FO reservist to hit up flight deck to sim. I don't know if he approves of that or not. I'm curious to see what happened there. I guess someone said the box wasn't sequenced. That's why my LNAV VNAV got all funky. But that's where the lack of Boeing knowledge comes in here. Let's go ahead and turn you off. Kill the lights. Now we're going to go straight into the ramp over here. Get that off. We'll fire up the APU. And anti-collision. Strobe is coming off.
Seattle traffic, Alaska 8, taxiing runway 16 left, Seattle traffic.
Oh my gosh, that freaking van. Airbus flare is hard to shake, nice and smooth though. I like it. Yeah, Sam, it gets me every time. We'll see it here. I think at 30 feet, you know, I want to start flaring, but we'll see. Commander says, great better stream. Got to go for dinner. Have a good one, man. Thanks for stopping by the stream, dude. We are done rolling coal here in Seattle. We'll set the brake here. We left the taxi light on. Sorry, dudes. We'll cheat here since we don't have a marshaller. I got to do a proper southwest stop. So you ready? Just let it roll and brakes. Proper southwest stop. Parking brakes are on. And let's go ahead and kill it. 2, 1. And the sounds are just, ugh, there's that Delta. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Seattle. Hannah says it was a butter. I was rewatching the landing. It was not a good butter, but a butter. All right, let's take a look at it. Let's take a look at it, guys. Let's throw you guys into replay mode. We'll go ahead and, actually, before I disconnect, make sure there's nobody on short final. There's a Delta coming in here. Good old Delta ERJ. And someone else taxiing out. No one else really on final. All right, we'll go ahead and disconnect. We'll do a replay. Oh, total Boeing fail right there. APU gens. Alfie got me. Oh, we went dark in the cabin. We went dark in the cabin, man. Yeah, I don't know the proper shutdowns. We're just going to leave it at that. We'll go into a replay mode here anyway. But we totally, totally went dark in the cabin. Oh, jeez. All right, here. Ooh, good spot. Let's watch it from a Z-wing view. We'll first watch it from here. I like this shot. We can get rid of Fly Live up there on the top. Let me see what Fly Live said. They said my landing rate was... Oh, it doesn't show me now because I'm in replay mode. little bit of a float. Oh man, that didn't seem very hard at all. Look at the difference though, 194, 127, like which one, so I don't worry about that too much. We'll look at the outside view. That's a pretty sick reverse shot though. Not gonna lie, look at this, that flat modeling. Oh, this is the view right here. Let's watch this one on touchdown. It's not automatic like your fancy Airbus. I know, man, I totally screwed that one up. Totally screwed that. Is there many Hyundais in Seattle? I don't know, Lawrence. I'm sure there are. I love that wing view though on that classic. Just looks so fat when you get those that flaps out there. Just such a wide wing. All right, let's take a look outside. Let's see it here. Good job on the center line there. We'll do a wheel well shot here. I know Dougal likes this view. Let's see what happened here. Split the difference, says Crow. Yeah, 128 versus 190. What's that? So that's we'll say 30 and 90, 60. I'll call it a 150. Works for me. Right there. There's that little Airbus flare right there. Look, there you go. That's it. Look at this. This is so funny. You can see it in replay. All right, watch. I'm going to set the camera level. We're going to play it. Watch this Airbus flare. Right? Or did I already miss it? Right there. And then I stopped flaring, and then we plunked it. That's all Airbus right there. It's like just watching it. And Airbus, Airbus, Airbus. No, I'm in a Boeing. I'm in a Boeing. And plunk. Not bad. Let's check it out from here. Let's see the sounds. We'll play some music. Ooh. Pretty good flyby shot though, right? Pretty good flyby sounds. Yeah. Yeah, I'll take that. I will take that. Alright guys, I'm going to leave you with a few more here, just in replay mode so you can enjoy it. Maybe we got a left side in front of the engine. Huge Huge shout out Q8 Pilot. Stop by the stream, tremendous donation. All the other fantastic donations, guys. Huge shout out to you. Thank you. Donos, members, mods. You guys are awesome. Thank you for supporting the channel, backing the channel. Everybody else hanging out in chat, I appreciate you guys just as much. Please hit the like button for me on the way out of here. I had a fun time talking Airbus, talking experiences. We'll be back in the Airbus this week, don't you worry. We'll probably also get a Phenom stream in here. One or two, maybe one stream this week. We'll see. But we will be back. Make sure the notifications is on because I do not have a stream schedule. So if you like this content, make sure you are subscribed and that little bell icon is on because sometimes once I find some time in the day, I'll be like, oh, I'm going to stream right now and I'll schedule it. So until next time, guys, I am V1. I hope you had a wonderful, wonderful stream, wonderful day. Have a good rest of your week. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy. See ya!